It's Bohannon towards the end zone looking for Sims. He's got it. Touchdown Baylor.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Dug in, throws it, end zone touchdown. Quentin Johnston caps the drive with an 18-yard touchdown catch, and TCU takes its first lead.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Play fake. Throw to the end zone. Wide open. Latu touchdown, Alabama.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Well, 2 timeouts left. Minute 10 the first half. See if the Falcons can get something going here. And not there. As dropped his line, he fumbled, but it's picked up. As Micah Parsons came through.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Man, how about the news yesterday evening that popped in college basketball? Jay Wright, Villanova, announces that he's going to retire at the age of 60, hands the reins over to somebody also who knows Villanova basketball. And you have Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams about, a year ago, Coach K, and now you have Jay Wright. 3 mega names when it comes to college basketball. Wright, who looks like he's 40. Hell, he looks like he's 35. He's a good-looking dude, but college basketball has found a vacuum of the names that run the game. Scott Drew, of course, Bill Self, among Tom Izzo still around.
If you were given the top 5 rankings of coaches after this season with the guys that have retired, look, Scott Drew's moved up into the rankings. You can probably have a pretty solid debate over who's the best remaining of Bill Self and Tom Izzo, and who's the most Calipari and all those guys. But yeah, I mean Jay Wright, and you think about it, it's kind of out of the blue. But look, he's 60 years old. He's made more money than he can probably spend. And he has turned Villanova into a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. Final Fours, championships. It's nearly automatic that they're in the Sweet 16.
And he had to do a rebuild, too. Now, Villanova has the Raleigh Massimino years, and they won a title in '85, but it didn't happen right away for him either.
But, what other mountain does he have to climb? And Jay Wright's not going to coach anywhere else. I think that was maybe evident over the last couple seasons when some other jobs came up, and I'm sure people called and Jay Wright said no, and it was like, well,
The initial reaction, Craig, from me was, all right, someone in the NBA is going to want Jay Wright, and I'm sure that there would be, but this seems to be, and good for him if it's true, he wants to smell the roses, and he can. Your thoughts when you first heard the news? I love Jay Wright. I think he's a classy dude. I love the way he coaches. I love the way he handles adversity or vice versa, even success.
Yeah, I think first of all, you guys need to mention Jim Boeheim as far as the active and legendary coaches that are still out there.
Yep.
He's still out there with Syracuse, so yeah, he definitely has to be in that conversation. But yeah, it's been a mass exodus. At least it feels that way because these are pretty big juggernauts that are all leaving at about the same time. So yeah, it's a changing of the guard in so many ways, and even the guys like a Jim Boeheim. I mean, they've only got so many years left. They're not going to be around, I don't think, in another 10. So yeah, it's the Scott Drews and those types of guys who are kind of that next wave of coaches who will have, here soon been around for these long tenures. I mean, Scott Drew, he already has been around, but you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like he's been around like a Coach K's been around or like a Jim Boeheim's been around. But, I wonder with Jay Wright if he's just going to be, one of those guys that, kind of sets the tone for college coaches where they don't stick around till they're 75 years old and they basically drop the whistle the last time and then, retire and live a year or two and then they pass on because basketball was like their whole lives, right? I wonder with the stresses of college athletics and just everything going on, when you make a boatload of money and you've won some national titles and you pretty much climbed the mountaintop and done everything you can do, why not enjoy retirement at age 60 if you can do it, So I think it's just probably a mental health, family health, friend health, and everything else kind of moving. He's still going to be involved to some extent. So we'll have one of those cushy, kind of fundraising when we need you to, talk to the team when we need you to, do this when we need you to type of a gig that's like an ambassador type thing. That
maybe a network analyst?
A network analyst. He could definitely do that as well. Yeah, that would make a ton of sense. So, I wasn't shocked. I was surprised, but I was not shocked because, if you're him, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and if you've grown up in college athletics and been a coach, he's 60 now, so the guy's been coaching for 35 years or so, and you think about the era that you were in and that you started in and the era that is now, why not get out now before you have to really reorganize how you do everything in your brain? I don't think it's surprising to see some of the coaches we have that just have retired and said, you know what? I'm out. This new stuff, like
65 used to be the retirement age. It still is. Things kick in when you start to be 60. I'm almost 63. That's the way it was. I'll never be able to retire. But you wonder, does the new of what basketball is, excuse me, college athletics is, does it, for example, start to maybe have people leave a little bit early? Now, again, we'll see what happens. But 60 years old and you've got all the money you'll ever need or ever spend, why not, right? And really no stress. There's no stress. And other than the fact that it's stressed because you have what you've built at Villanova, which is a team that's supposed to win and be a part of championship runs, lost to Kansas in the Final Four in the semifinals.
Yeah, I just don't think that everybody's meant to coach till they can't coach anymore, and there's something to be said for being able to sit back and enjoy your life. The problem is for most Americans, they can't do that. We don't have a choice. I think everybody would love to be able to retire at 60 and feel like they didn't have to work anymore, or all maybe you had to do was a little spare job here and there to, make a few extra bucks for Christmas shopping or something. But that's not the America we live in now, So people like Jay Wright and others who have that opportunity, why would you not take advantage of it if you can? And and if he would have coached another 5 years, okay, maybe he wins another national title. Maybe I'm sure he would have won more conference titles and all of that. But I mean, he's already done everything basically. Yep. So I'm not that surprised. If you can get out when you're still spry and feeling good and feeling healthy and you feel like you got a long way to go, then take some of that stress off your plate.
Well, and a lot of coaches, I think, were wary of the Bear Bryant situation where Bear Bryant quit coaching and then he died. And a lot of them, took that as like, well, he didn't have anything else going on. Well, yeah, but he was also a smoker for 50 plus years of his life. And, he wasn't living the cleaner lifestyles that maybe have afforded themselves to younger coaches because it was just a different time when he came up. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was not coaching that killed Bear Bryant. It was a lifetime, and it was, but Bobby Bowden used to say it all the time.
He didn't retire at 60.
No, yeah, he didn't retire at 60, but that was the thing. Bobby Bowden used to say, the Bear Bryant thing is very fresh in his mind. And so he was always worried about it, but he lived, 14 years after he after he retired.
A couple of other things. Jeremiah Dickey, who's the athletic director at Boise State, will join us here momentarily at about 3:10. We'll check in today with TCU and Alabama when it comes to our spring football tour, plus 2 national writers as well, including Max Olson on college football. It will join us his normal time at 4.
And by the way, I'm not ruling out him coaching again. I know he stepped down from Villanova, but there's talk. Well, would he be interested in the NBA? Would he be interested in Team USA basketball? Things like that, especially with Coach K retiring. So I could see him definitely being back in coaching. I don't think he would be immediate. The broadcast booth makes a ton of sense for him, though. That makes a lot of sense for him to slide into that role.
1 or 2 other college basketball notes, and this is not a surprise. The 7-footer Chet Holmgren at Gonzaga has decided he's going to enter the NBA draft. That was something that we thought even back before he committed to Gonzaga, one and done. Also, Kevin O'Banner, who was kind of looking around and not so sure what he was going to do. A couple of reports out of Lubbock saying that he's back on campus, and whether or not that means he's back for Texas Tech. Most likely that is the case. So that is also a note. Kevin O'Banner in that game against Baylor in Lubbock was phenomenal. He was huge in that win against the Bears out in Lubbock, and he was good all year long. A kid that transferred in from Paul Mills's team at Oral Roberts as well. So we'll get into a lot more of Jay Wright and college athletics, and even now with Boise State athletic director and a good friend of the show, former Baylor assistant AD in Jeremiah Dickey. Jeremiah, thank you, as always, for the access and the time. What was your reaction, and do you feel like this could be a trend when Jay Wright at 60 decides to retire?
Well, I think, one, it's good to hear from you guys, and I appreciate you having me on. I do think with how college athletics is changing in general, and there's still a lot left to be decided, I think you will see some others exit. It's maybe unfortunate and sooner than we would like to see some of these legends, but you're seeing it on the administration side as well, and it's part of what we're all navigating. So.
Jeremiah, coaches make a lot of money. The rules are changing. You're kind of saying why not get out before I have to change my whole way of thinking about how this all works, especially if you're somebody like Jay Wright or, Coach K, who's been, despite his age, they've been doing it one way a really long time, and now the rules have changed really fast.
Correct. And a lot of those rules are still being defined in real time. So you're absolutely right. I think, the job is hard enough. And in some ways we've made it, maybe a little more difficult because we haven't defined it. And so I think for someone like him, and I can't speak to all his reasons and haven't necessarily read up on everything he said, but, he's done a lot for our industry and he's been one of the most well-liked coaches, similar to Coach Drew there. And I understand, family is important. And in this day and age, the expectations consistently are they're held to a high standard. And so I get it.
Jeremiah, the landscape of college athletics, of course, has changed in so many ways, not just the rules of what players can or cannot get or student athletes and what they can do, but just the expansion, the changes, the realignment. And I know Boise State has right now, their eyes on right now, the present, but also possibly the future. Can you in any way possible give us a crystal ball of the future in college athletics?
I can't. And I would be a rich man if I could. I think, and it's something that we preach here all the time, control what we can. Our goal is to do what's in the best interest of this institution and continue to pour into our student athletes and create the best possible experience. And if and when that time comes, I hope that we're considered for whatever's next in our industry. A lot's going to happen over the next 6 to 9 months. And I'm excited to see, what comes out of some of the committee meetings and how we wrap our head around name, image, and likeness, transfer portal. We've added a lot to the table that I think everyone in general whether you're in the Power 5 or Group of 5, everyone in general is trying to navigate.
The conference of which you know very well, the Big 12, you know what they went through with Texas and Oklahoma, whenever that is, at least perhaps maybe not as early as till 2025, but possibly earlier. But when they added so quickly, and they added 4, including Brigham Young, who's in your backyard, did that pique the interest of you even more that, hey, they may need somebody near Brigham Young that also fits this piece of the puzzle at some point?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely piqued our interest. But, I know in 2016, Boise State had a seat at the table, and the Big 12 decided not to expand at that point. And, whatever disappointment Bronco Nation had that we missed out on the next round, I have confidence in our plan and vision moving forward and controlling what we can to best position us to do what's in the best interest of this place. BYU has been a great partner, and we've played them for a number of years. And I think very highly of their athletic director. And my hope is we'll continue to control what we can, and I hope BYU. I'd love to continue to stay on their schedule, and I know we have Houston and UCF coming up on ours, and I'm excited for those opportunities.
What were your thoughts when you heard that Bob Bowlesby, a guy that you worked with quite a bit, announced his retirement? I
was surprised, probably like many. He's a legend in the industry. He was a great AD, and honestly, I don't believe that he probably got enough credit for what he had to navigate with the Big 12 and how he approached his job. And I've always been a fan of his, and I'm excited for him. I know his son, and I know he has grandkids and family, and very similar to the conversation before with coaches getting out of the industry, and you're seeing it with athletic directors, and you're seeing it with commissioners. I think it's a new age of college athletics, and it provides a tremendous opportunity for me, someone who's young and God willing has another 20 years in this industry. But I think highly of Commissioner Bowlesby, and excited for what's next for him and his family.
Jeremiah, tell us about this Athletics Master Village, the plan for Boise State that you guys unveiled. I guess it was about a couple weeks or so ago.
Yeah, that was. I can't say enough about Cody Godler and Joe Nickel on our team, and Bob Carney, and some individuals that put a lot of time, energy, and effort into that. When I first arrived here, coming from Baylor, I had a good idea of what we needed to do and the direction we were headed. And we've tried to communicate and be as transparent as possible with Bronco Nation and in general college athletics to let everyone know that we are very, very proud of our past, but we're not going to live in it. And we have a tremendous opportunity ahead of us. And that vision really ties in, our collective mission of preparing our student athletes for what's next in their lives and providing the best possible experience. So having the heart of our operations, having, the east side of Albertson Stadium, doing more, an extra mile with the success that our men's program has had and the history of our women's basketball program. It really ties in all 18 sport programs, 350 plus student athletes. And it gives Bronco Nation a vision of what the future will look like for us. I've had a lot of people talk to us about, what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take us to do it. But this is the first step of that process. And the next thing for us is to go through this educational and feasibility process with our donors. We already have some things lined up, and we'll be excited to announce some of those projects in the future.
Jeremiah, do you increase the capacity of a stadium because you can fill it, or because you also then send a message you can be a part of something else?
I think it's a combination of both. Perception is reality, and I've been bullish on 6-game 6 sellouts here, and I believe in our fan base and our community, and they're showing up and they're supporting us. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, as you look at who we're competing with and what's, what college athletics in general is going through, I think it ties into perception of our program and continuing to build on the brand that many others before me have built for us. I'm excited about the opportunity to monetize, our facilities in a different way. the industry is changing, and how we utilize our technology and Wi-Fi and video boards and augmented reality and virtual reality. And I mean, the opportunities are endless. And so I do think that there is a path forward for us. And I think getting to 40,000 seats in Albertson Stadium is a number that we're shooting for. And we have to increase our premium spaces because we're competing with television and a lot of other things now that maybe 15, 20 years ago we weren't. And so the future's bright.
Do you think Mack Rhoades could have been the Big 12 commissioner if he wanted that job?
Well, you guys know me well, and he may get mad at me for saying this, but I think Mack can do anything he puts his mind to. And I think if he wanted that job, and I love Mack to death, and I think very highly of him, and I think he would have been an unbelievable commissioner. I think the world of Mack, and so I was really excited to see him. Mack is, and you guys know this, is one of the hardest working athletic directors, and in my humble and biased opinion, the best athletic director in the country. And I think that it's a testament to his work and that partnership and that he has with Dr. Livingstone. But I'm also, from a personal standpoint, I'm really happy for him because I was with him at UTEP and when he wasn't in AD and at Akron and in Houston and seeing his path and how far he's come and the work that's paid off. But he also has 3 daughters and he has a grandkid now. And I also want him to enjoy this a little bit. And so I'm glad that he'll be sticking around Waco a lot longer, and I'm really happy for his family.
So is Baylor. Everyone I can think of as far as attached to Baylor as well. Jeremiah Dickey, Boise State Athletic Director, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Although I did tell him the day he signed the extension that meant he signs a 10-year extension with us. So,
That's right.
I mean, he didn't think about that.
He went back and put that in the shredder.
Yeah, he said
he shredded it immediately when he knew that might be the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeremiah, when you look at the college football playoff expansion, which is on hold, and then there are other television network agreements with conferences, the Big Ten probably about to announce something with Fox, and we know the Pac-12's up for grabs eventually, the Big 12. Is the college football expansion, in your opinion, the thing that would open up the dam for more, and I don't mean dam in a bad word, but open up the dam for more opportunities for others once they can get that figured out?
I think so. A lot of what I feel we've lost, and this is, I still consider myself a first-time AD and still new to the chair, but I think we forgot about what was most important, and there is that student-athlete component, but also the fan experience. And, when you look at the power of say, the NCAA basketball tournament and the opportunity for a Cinderella to make a run, as St. Pete did this year, and why not open it up more to a much larger base? And I see value in that. Now, maybe I'm biased because I would love for us to have the opportunity to get in, but it doesn't fit with what I love about this industry and what I love about college athletics in general. And I think having more opportunity is of value. And I think it creates a much stronger industry overall.
Yeah, it is strange that football is the only sport. I mean, if you look at track and field, swimming, diving, whatever it is, a kid from any school, at least especially an individual sport, can win the national title. And team sports, I know, skew certain ways. But, Jeremiah, how can non-Power 5 conferences throw any weight around to make sure that, is it changing the governance rules so that, the Power 5 isn't so completely autonomous? Like, how do you do that so that, schools like Boise State and ones like you can actually, throw some weight around and make their voice heard?
Well, I think one is the expansion of the college football playoff. And I was surprised, like many, that it didn't happen. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but I also think, and you've talked about it, there's somewhat of a changing of the guard going on. You have, Power 5 conferences, and I think at this point, 4 of the 5 will have had a commissioner. You have a lot of new ADs and young administrators that are up and coming that are going to have a seat at the table that they haven't had before. And I think, blinders come off and it allows you to really hone in on what's most important. And, there's something about college athletics that's different from professional sports. I love professional sports, but there's a difference. And the more we become like professional sports, the more I think we lose what's special to many of us. And I think having the conversations and at some point we have to face it. We've been kicking the can for many years. I don't think name, image, and likeness or the route we've taken now is a surprise to anyone that's been in the industry for the last years. We just decided to and I know it's easier said than done, but now we're faced with making decisions because others are defining the expectations for us. And I just philosophically don't agree with that. I think there is a path forward. And I think if you got the right people in the room, and there's probably a lot of opinions on who that would be, that we could create something that would benefit all involved.
It was kind of like the simmering of a volcano. It was going to erupt at some point with the various lawsuits, and then it just went pop, and there's no way to get the lava back in the ground because so many things are going on. You say get the right people in the room. Why can't that happen? Why can't that somebody like there's 300 and some or how many NCAA schools that are competing for an NCAA basketball title, or how many 115 or so in football? Why can't that get done? Is it too much red tape?
I don't necessarily know if it's too much red tape. I think there's just so many moving pieces, and inherently the job is difficult. Take me as an athletic director. My job is to do what's in the best interest of my institution first and foremost. But I'm also a part of a conference that's also a part of an association. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and ultimately ADs and presidents have been making decisions on what's in the best interest of their institutions, and I don't blame them for that. But that's something that I think can be navigated. And if I had to answer, obviously I would share it. I don't know, but having the conversation is important. And I know a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do we move forward? I love this industry. I don't want it to change, and I want to, have, an opportunity to lead a department, compete at the highest levels. And I think there is a way for us to do that. We just have to figure that out. It's easier said than done. And there's much more intelligent administrators and commissioners and leaders out there that probably have more of an answer. But I think what it's done forced us all to look in the mirror and say, okay, why are we doing what's important? And in some ways, that's probably what worries me the most about name, image, and likeness and transfer portals. And, we're changing the college athletics, and in a lot of ways we're losing our mix process, and that's something we're trying to hold on to dear, as much as we possibly can. The student athlete and really providing those experiences that prepare them for life, understanding the professional opportunities that many don't have.
Are you concerned, Jeremiah, at all that the schools in the Power 5 conferences, and then even some of the conferences are more powerful than the Power 5 conferences, are you worried at all that they may not really care about who's left behind as they try to get bigger, stronger, and richer?
I think that's always a concern. I can't speak for, the SEC or the Big 12 or some of the conferences that maybe have a bigger seat at the table. But, I think it's a concern, but I've always approached everything that there is always a solution, and you just have to be willing to find it. And there may be some level of sacrifice for the greater good of this industry. And, and who knows, what's going to happen a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. But it has definitely escalated very quickly over the last couple of years in terms of the change that happened and potentially change that is coming. And go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. My fault. That when you look at what you've accomplished or what Boise State has accomplished since you've been there, how proud are you of where they are, where you're going, and knowing that people want Boise State to be involved in the future at the highest level?
I'm extremely proud, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the people that came before me.
Mm-hmm.
We're 25 years old as an FBS institution, and the other day I saw that, we've had the most, we're top 3 in most wins, since 2000. And I believe we're top 3 in most away wins. And it's remarkable considering, the difference in resources that our institution has had compared to others, and the success at the level that we've had it, whether it's Fiesta Bowls or 20 plus years of bowl games and whatnot. So I'm really proud, and it was a big reason why I came here. And to do what we did this year, considering we were all still navigating COVID and a lot of things that I couldn't control in that process, our team deserves so much credit, guys. I mean, it's something that's difficult for me to put into words because there was just so many hurdles to get over and around this past year, and especially with me, the first time AD, and a lot of change. But we approached it with an open mind and solution, oriented mentality, and we're going to operate at a Power 5 level, whether we're in the Power 5 or not. And our goal is to continue to compete on the national stage and grow this brand and take the foundation that others before me have built and hopefully take it to the next level. I'm extremely competitive, and our teams are as well. And we've gone through a lot of change with staff, but I'm really excited, to have a full season where we actually have full staff hired and we're not backfilling positions, and we're not navigating COVID, God willing, not having to do that. So I'm really excited for what's next for us.
I love that comment. We're going to operate as a Power 5, whether we are in a Power 5 conference or not. The Big 12 did a lot of reconnaissance, and I'll wrap, this is my last question, a lot of reconnaissance when they decided they were going to expand. It wasn't just the 4 they added. They talked to many others. Did Boise State ever get any kind of reconnaissance mission from the Big 12 in a way, or any kind of contact at all?
We had various conversations. I mean, there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? And, it happened very quickly. And obviously, I was calling as many people as I possibly could through the process, as many other ADs were doing as well. And but there was no official presentation or opportunity to present our case. I think our history and our success spoke for itself, and I think there were some things that we now know we're going to have to navigate. So we understand the size of our state. We understand our television market. We understand the needs that our programs have and the perception of our program. And it's something that's important to us. We don't want to forget our history and our past. We just don't want to live in it. And I think bringing in myself and others, and we have new leadership on campus, it's really allowed us to pivot to what's next for us and really define what today and tomorrow is versus live on the Fiesta Bowls. And that's what really excites me with the team we have in place. But it's nice and very humbling for me as the leader of this department for us to even be mentioned in the conversation. But, I haven't been here long enough to deserve much of that. That comes from the previous athletic directors and staff that really put us on the map in this last 25 years. We've had tremendous coaches, and my hope is that I can continue that success moving forward.
Thank you, Jeremiah. We appreciate you. Good luck with it. And thanks for your time. Miss seeing you. Know you're doing a great job there, and can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you, guys. Miss you guys, and please give Mac a hug for me.
We will. Jeremiah Dickey, Boise State Athletic Director on many things, college athletics, college football, realignment, Power 5, or whatever else, and what they know they have to do moving forward. When we come back, a couple of different notes in sports, but 3:45, Drew Davison will join us he'll cover TCU. He does cover TCU for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Max Olson at 4, national writer for theathletic.com. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
I would go into the chat room, but I would also not sure if I'm coming out. There's some bickering going on. Of course, proud fans of different fan bases. It's great to see. And then everyone kind of hopefully just kind of keeps it nice and sane. Well, although there's some people that are in there, we know that some of them don't know how to do that. Let's see here. There's a question about Bob Kramer with the portal and NIL. How long will the number one class that A&M produced stay together?
I mean, I don't how many A&M
you say
can
that
pay
about a team that was 35th in the rankings.
Yeah, but A&M seems to have the alumni backing to keep them happy, at least dollar figure wise, you would think. But I would think the thing that could derail that class was if they just aren't as good, and things change. So if they don't live up to that number one ranking, then that's the thing that'll break it up. I mean, guys don't play, but then if they can't play there, then does A&M want them anyway? If they can't break the lineup, then that's what the portal's for.
Yeah, and there's a little arguing about that. I don't think whether you're the number one class or the number 38 class, I don't think it matters. The NIL and transfer portal can have an effect on you. The bottom line is, can you make everybody happy and can you win? And which is more important? Winning. You win, and you're gonna. One of the things, Jay Wright and Villanova, I think they've had like one transfer. Baylor's done a great job with their transfers with Coach Drew and Jalen Bridges added to the mix. Sometimes it works. It doesn't always work. It's everybody, I would think. I can't imagine there's a school in America that has not benefited and also been hurt by the transfer portal. So it's not a one-way street, although the bigger, the richer get richer, right? The better get better. And it's like even Nick Saban has said, all right, this is what you want to do. All right, game on.
Well, there's always going to be schools that have enough alumni base in the exact dollar figure to keep them from going somewhere if NIL is the most important thing. But so I wouldn't worry about them losing people because of money, production maybe, but money's not going to be the issue in a place like that. Because if I'm a guy that says, hey, this school is offering me this much money, they can match or probably better that offer because they've got that kind of money. But I'm not an athlete who's ever.
You're talking about if you're at A&M.
If you're at A&M.
Or Alabama, Georgia, Texas, whoever, that money is not going to be why you enter the transfer portal.
No, because, if you've got a dollar figure in mind, I'm sure there's somebody, if you're important enough, that they'll match it. But, because again, like Texas, they're not going to have a problem finding somebody to hey, this is the deal, we got to make this guy. So.
TCU, of course, they're replacing head coach in Gary Patterson, who last year, near the end of the year, was asked to basically finish the year but didn't. And now they have a new coach in Sonny Dykes. We'll hear from Drew Davison, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, on TCU and the first spring under Coach Dykes. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, 5 locations in Waco, the newest in Hewitt, and there used to be one. There used to be no Marco's Pizzas, and around the country, there's now over 1,000 of them. It's a fast-growing company. Bob Mockett, owner here, with locations in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Hewitt, and Robinson. Marco's Pizza, go online, marcos.com, and you can find all sorts of specials, including the one for Pepperoni Magnifico. Pep Mag is the code. And then, of course, you can go and pick one up wherever you want, whatever store you go to, not just in Central Texas or Waco, but around the country among those 1,000-plus stores as well. And then on top of that, one of our favorites when we get it is the thin crust all-meat pizza. We devour it. We love it. It's got the Chicago cut, which means the square cut. And then on top of that, yes, sandwiches, salads, drinks, and much more, and wings if that's what you want. Marco's Pizza. In fact, Bob Mock, remember, on their boxes for an entire week had our show, promoting our show. He's a sponsor of this show, and we appreciate him for that at marcos.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Drew Davison, 4-Star Telegraph, covers TCU football. The big change at the top. Gary Patterson out. Sonny Dykes is in. And he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig Paul and David Smoak. Drew, thanks for your time. We saw a tweet, and I think it was from Kendry Miller, the running back from Mount Enterprise, a little school, of course, in East Texas, where he talked about just things he could breathe, that things were different. And I don't know if that's true, or anytime there's a coaching change. Is there a difference? Do you sense there's a difference now with Sonny Dykes running the program compared to even in the last couple of years?
Okay, and, obviously just talking to the players, because, we didn't see that many practices open when Gary was here, but it just feels like there's a different vibe. And we were talking to one of the offensive linemen today, Steve Avila, and he was just saying about having fans out there and things like that. No one want to look bad in front of people, so I think the players are buying in, and it's definitely a little more of a player friendly vibe going on. But with that being said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and Gary won 181 games. I mean, I think they all realize, this is nice and cute and obviously more accessible. But if they start 2-5, I don't think many fans will care whether practices are open or not, or whatever. It's going to come down to wins and losses. So, not saying there's a right method or a wrong method, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of night and day from how Gary ran things compared to how Sonny runs things.
I know that Sonny Dykes didn't really give an indication as who they were leaning towards as starting quarterback, but he said he felt good about the guys in the room and probably not getting to the portal. Who do you think, if you had to bet right now, would it be Duggan or would it be Morris?
I'd probably say, just my personal opinion, I think Duggan has the slightest of edges. I don't think this is going to be decided until fall camp, but just in terms of being able to read a defense, set up the O-line, I just think, Chandler's days are really, really good, kind of like the Baylor game, or then not so good. And there's just quite a bit of fluctuation between his good and bad days, whereas Duggan, it seems like it's a little bit more down the middle in terms of, there's just, you kind of know what you're going to get, so to speak. So, now whether that's good enough or not for the new staff, we'll see. But, I would say Duggan's just probably had a few more consistent days compared to Chandler. But Chandler may have more of an upside, so to speak.
Drew, I know offensive line was a problem. They've got some guys coming back. How do they feel about that group? Is that one where they feel like they've got the bodies necessary and the talent necessary to roll with what they have?
Yeah, just going off what they've said, they feel like the O-line's been one of the pleasant surprises. Andrew Coker, who's kind of been their right tackle the last 2 years, is getting some looks at left tackle, so he could be an option there. They've got some young guys, a kid named Marcus Williams and a kid named Michael Nichols from Justin Northwest, just up the road from TCU, is kind of pushing for one of those tackle spots too. Both of them are getting solid looks. And then, they bring back the player I mentioned earlier, Steve Avila, who started a lot of games. And Gary mentioned last season he thought he was the best center in the country. And you also got, some other guys like John Lance, and they brought in a SMU transfer interior lineman, Alon Ali, who could, challenge for some starts. So they do feel good, like they're going to have a good 8-9 man rotation in the O-line. And we'll kind of see where the chips fall as far as the starting five, but they do feel like that group, that unit, looks to be pretty solid early on.
So the spring game is going to be actually what most fans would love to see probably more often, rather than a glorified scrimmage, an actual game with Duggan and Morris on different teams, and there's kind of a way to set up the rosters based on depth right now, injuries, etc. How much will that give you, as someone who covers TCU, a better perspective?
Oh yeah, no, it'll definitely, it's definitely nice, just to, kind of not rely on, as you guys know, if you call up the quarterback coach for a closed practice, they're probably going to say their unit's playing pretty well. Mm-hmm. Now we can actually see if they are or aren't, right? And so it just gives you, a better feel about the team, about where guys are, who's playing well, who isn't. I mean, if this was completely shut down, we would kind of just be going off, whatever assistant, says about Duggan or Morris, but now we can actually kind of see and feel kind of how they're playing. So it's definitely a different way of doing things, and it certainly gives us, better information because we're seeing it with our own eyes.
Drew, do you get a sense that the offensive system is going to be a little more? I mean, I know it's Sonny Dykes wide open, but how much different will it be than what they were trying to do with Meacham?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very different. And, actually we talked to Doug Meacham today, and I'll plug my Star Telegram story. Check it out tomorrow morning. But no, he was saying the last 2 years he would pretty much say that, it wasn't really an air raid, right? They kind of went to the power read, play action type game with Jerry Kill kind of overseeing the offense. And now with Garrett Riley coming in, Sonny Dykes, Meacham, thinks it'll look more like a 2014, 2015 team that TCU had, when they went to the Peach Bowl and things like that, hey, we're going to be throwing the ball a lot more, distributing a lot more. They're going to get, Jorquarius Spivey's, kind of the top tight end receiving target right now. We're going to throw him the ball. So it's definitely, I think, going to kind of go back to what it was and be a true air raid, whereas the last couple of years is more of just, kind of your traditional smash mouth, run heavy offense.
Drew, over the last, 2 decades, TCU's identity has been playing great defense, and its identity has been Gary Patterson. And then there's been little moments of, a Trayvon Boykin or someone like that. But it's basically been defense and Gary Patterson. What is the identity of TCU football now, or what do you think the identity they're moving towards is?
I definitely think they want to continue the defensive identity. It'll look different in terms of they're going to 3-3-5 front now, but I do think they want to have a lot of speed on defense like Gary did. They're going to want to force a lot of takeaways. And playing, the 3-3-5, they kind of play more of a zone defense, so they should, in theory, get more takeaways. And just, so far in spring practice, it looks like some DBs are getting their hands on balls more, a little active in that department. But I also think, it'll be known clearly, from an offensive standpoint under Sonny Dykes, his track record, kind of speaks for itself, having top 15, top 20 offenses at SMU, developing Jared Goff at Cal, the number 1 overall quarterback in 2016 in the NFL draft. So I do think eventually the offense will probably outpace what the defense does, just given, kind of that's their bread and butter in terms of developing quarterbacks and, really airing it out and putting up some gaudy offensive numbers. And I think that's kind of what TCU wanted. A guy, obviously Gary's a legendary coach, has a statue out front. They wanted, it would have been really hard for a defensive guy to come in and kind of follow in those footsteps. So I think, here in the next 4 or 5 years, it'll certainly trend to being more of an offensive first type school.
How good can Quentin Johnston be? Last year, 33 catches, 18.5 yards a catch, 6 touchdowns. He's obviously not just a possession receiver, but a deep threat as well, the kid from Temple. How good do they feel like he could be at TCU?
I mean, they feel like he can be all Big 12 type receiver just in terms of, or even beyond that, really pushing for some national receiving type awards, just given his ability to take the top off the defense. He's gotten, maybe more length and more speed than a Josh Stockton did a few years back. What Josh Stockton had was probably a better catch radius and more consistency catching the football. So Quentin Johnston just needs to, cut down his drops and maybe expand that catch radius a little bit more. But if he's able to do that, there's no question he's going to see plenty of targets this year, and they're going to design plays and really try and get the ball in his hands as often as possible.
What did you think of the addition of Corey Wren from Florida State? What does he do that helps aid what they're trying to do offensively?
Paul knows him well. He may be the guy to ask. I think he's a mix of Adrian Peterson between the tackles and Barry Sanders in the open field.
Oh, nice. That'll be good.
No, I, in all honesty, obviously, he's a speed guy. His numbers speak for himself. Didn't see the field much at Florida State, so obviously there could be a variety of reasons for that. But I do think they like him as a potential return option. Get some looks there, but then just the speed guy. That this is, as you guys know, one of the fastest track state or one of the fastest states as far as track and field and sprinting. So anytime you can add speed like that, they're going to try and get the ball in his hands. And I would assume he'll be more of a gadget type player where, jet sweeps or whatnot, just, trying to get the ball in his hands quick and see if he can make something happen. But he's not practicing yet or on campus yet, but I do know they're excited about landing him just based on his pure athletic skill.
Florida State must be pretty damn good if they gave up Adrian Peterson and Barry Sanders.
I would say, Drew, that if he sees the field at TCU, Florida State didn't know what they were doing. If he doesn't see the field, then they probably knew what they were doing. So, I think that remains to be seen what's going on in Tallahassee.
Please, by the way, tell Trey Tomlinson, he may remember us, that Smokey, Paul, and Craig said hi. We did his games at Midway, loved his game, wish Baylor would have had him, but he was to TCU, and the Ladainian and Tomlinson connection was obviously huge, and what a great player he is.
Oh, yeah, no, and it's interesting to think if Dave Aranda was coaching Baylor when Trey was coming out of high school, does he, obviously the LT connection may be too strong to ignore, but it's just kind of a fun little hypothetical of where he ends up. But Trey actually, he kind of tightened his hamstring a little bit during spring, so he's missed the last couple practices, but up until that point, he looks like himself. It looks like he's going to be poised for another good season. Obviously he can't do anything about being 5'9", but he thinks another year of tape will push him up NFL draft radars even more than he already is.
Drew, how do they go about replacing O'Shawn Mathis?
Well, going to a 3-man front, they like kind of the guys they have back. Right now they got who was here last year, Dylan Horton. They think he can be a pretty good little edge rusher. And then on the other side, they got Terrell Cooper, who played more inside, 3-tech for TCU last year. Now he's playing more outside. So they think he can, kind of generate some pressure. But the big key is I think they're really going to try, with just 3 linebackers, maybe bring in more guys off the edge and things like that. Just in spring practice, you see guys like Marcel Brooks, or they got a Navy transfer named Johnny Hodges, who's a linebacker. Some of them getting a little bit more pressure on the quarterback than your true Russians.
Drew, thank you very much. Drew Davison, Fort Worth Star-Telegram on TCU. Spring game for them is tomorrow night. And joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. In the next segment, Max Olson, national writer, college football writer for theathletic.com, will join us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Bigger, better, faster, and stronger. And that's hard to do when you're Pioneer Steel and Pipe. You've been in business since 1943, serving many, many customers when it comes to pipe, steel, and metal. And they've done it the right way, with great product and incredible customer service, and they don't just say that. Building a brand new building, big, huge facility, bigger, better, faster, stronger. That's what they're going to become in Waco, and they have a location in Bryan as well. They have, again, you hear about customer service, and then you experience it. When you're at Pioneer Steel and Pipe, whatever location it might be, there's others there, people who are buying what they need to build something, commercial or real estate, but you feel like you're pretty much the only one there because of the attention. You feel like you're getting what you need because of what you want to buy. And it's not just once. People come back more and more and often because that's how you stay in business since 1943. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, pioneerboys.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. Knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Option look, Sanders keeps it, makes a cut, first down, still running. Spencer Sanders all the way to the house. A crucial touchdown for Oklahoma State to fight back 37 yards.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Here's Corum, and Corum, what a move. Corum, he needs a block. Corum, down the sideline. Blake Corum, touchdown, Wolverines. 67 yards.
It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, national senior college football writer, joins us most Thursdays at the start of the 4 o'clock hour. Max, thanks for your time. So there are a couple of new names. The linebacker from Arizona State, Gentry, Jalen Robinson from UCF now enter the portal. How quickly or how high up the totem pole of interest, not interest, but value do those guys bring?
Yeah, we're kind of hitting the home stretch here on the transfer portal cycle. If any players want to be immediately eligible to play this fall, then they've got to go in the portal by May 1st. So, last 10 days here, hopefully players know that and are making the decision based on the timeline. Lately, the past week or so, it seems like more of the players that have gone in the portal have been maybe those kind of guys that are leaving the program at the end of the spring because they're not really playing very much, or maybe even their coaches are encouraging them to go in the portal and try and find somewhere else to go. But certainly some big names, in the past 24 hours with Jalen Robinson, the wide receiver from UCF, who was really, really good in 2020, very electric playmaker, guy from Fort Worth All Saints, too. I wouldn't be surprised if he were looking to come, close to their home in Texas. And then Eric Gentry, a guy who was a freshman All-American in his 1 year at Arizona State. Moving on like a bunch of players have from Arizona State with all the weird stuff that's gone on there in the past year. He's a guy that already has a ton of Power 5 interest as a kind of a unique athlete, a 6'6", 200-pound linebacker who I think is going to have kind of his pick of the litter here in terms of Power 5 offers.
Max, I was really sad we didn't get to talk to you last week because I need to know what happened with the Marius Mims.
With the what?
With the Marius Mims, I need to know.
That was an interesting one. There have been a lot of those, like the really high profile guys who go in the portal and then stay put. Marius Mims is one of the most talented young linemen in the country, and a guy that just at Georgia, he's kind of blocked. Georgia's got starters coming back at left tackle and right tackle, and so this massive lineman who some of his teammates say is like a generational talent
went in the portal and took a visit to Florida State. And I know a lot of Florida State people were crystal balling that he was going to Florida State. And Georgia stepped in and got him to come back. Now, nowadays, can't imagine he came back for free, but Georgia did what they had to do to get Amarius Mims to stay in their program. And, that's the guy that whenever he does enter the lineup, I think will be really special.
So, Max, a lot going on with Texas in the transfer portal. I mean, they've already added, several guys, but now Ajayi Hall from Alabama. Yep. You got the O'Shawn Mathis decision that's coming up, by the end of the month. And then there's this transfer portal story that I'm sure there are other examples of, but actually losing a guy to the transfer portal, he goes and plays well elsewhere, and now Caleb Johnson could be back in Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's Texas in the mix. I think Caleb Johnson probably will pick Miami, but he did take an official visit to Texas over the weekend. A guy that was briefly at Texas, went to UCLA for a couple of years, played a bit there, and now Miami has really loaded up on the portal since Mario Cristobal got there and put his staff together. I would think he'd go to Miami, but yeah, the Texas taking Ajayi Hall is a little bit of a head scratcher to me because there's some very talented freshmen that have gone in the portal this offseason. He's a guy that got kicked out of Alabama. I mean, clearly he got suspended. He got taken off the roster. He was causing problems at Alabama. And I know Nick Saban, if you asked him last spring, he'd say that that's one of their most talented young playmakers and a guy that really showed out in their spring game last year. And I think they thought he was really, really talented, a guy that didn't get a lot of reps and a lot of targets during the season, and when he did get them against the national title game, didn't play very well. And so I think Texas's staff is betting on talent and betting that, hey, can we kind of get him back on the right track here? And obviously he has some relationships with that coaching staff, but certainly on paper you'd say, man, Texas is putting together some pretty crazy pieces on offense, but can they actually put it all together and are they risking a little too much in terms of maybe talent over character? I guess we'll see. But, man, that's another very interesting weapon for their offense.
Do you expect the market on Emory Jones to heat up once spring football is over and people kind of settle into maybe needing a quarterback more than they realized going in?
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, like there's I guess we'll kind of find out in the next week who else is out there in terms of the quarterback market. But right now, it's pretty thin. The backup freshman at Florida just went in the portal, and he hasn't played at all, but maybe he'll have some options. But Emory Jones, you kind of look at the landscape right now, look at the guys who are recruiting JT Daniels. I mean, I guess Missouri would be looking for, Oregon State might be looking for one. Certainly Arizona State should be looking for one. But in terms of Power 5 options, there's not a whole lot out there for Emory Jones, at least you would think. And I'm guessing that guy doesn't want to go play at a Group of 5 school, even if, maybe he's a player that should be looking for scheme fit more than, sort of playing at a bigger school. So, yeah, I think that'll pick up a little bit post-spring. But right now, my guess would be he'd end up at one of those schools.
Max, Brent Venables in Oklahoma, there's a lot of excitement going on right now. I saw Lincoln Riley with his was the Players Tribune farewell to OU. That was good stuff, but a lot of consternation.
Yeah,
obviously, a lot of
5 months late, but he put that out there.
Yeah, you're right. It was the timing. He finally had what he had to say, I guess. But what are your thoughts on Brent Venables? I mean, I find it kind of mixed. People who aren't Oklahoma fans feel like, well, there's no way they can keep up this run of what they've been doing the last 2 decades. And then Oklahoma fans feel like this is what we've been needing. He's going to be better than Riley, this and that. What are your thoughts in year one with Brent Venables?
Yeah, it is interesting the way you've seen Oklahoma fans turn on Lincoln Riley. And, to what extent is it kind of like revisionist history to say some of the things that you've seen? And again, not to put too much stock in Twitter or anything, but it does seem like some OU fans sort of feel like, oh, man, we were like getting worse under Lincoln Riley and stuff, which I don't really know that I buy that. But I think that I think that, like, where are they in the SEC is kind of a different conversation. Where are they in the short term here? Like, I do think Brent Venables is going to take it in a different direction, but I think in a direction that they're still going to get really good players on that team. And I do think they're going to probably be a Big 12 title contender for the rest of their time in the conference, however long that is. I think that there's going to be some adjustments to it, and there's probably going to be some players that maybe aren't totally on board with when you sign for a certain coach and then it all changes over. There's going to be some of that transition, but I do think the guy comes in understanding the program and understanding what they're doing well, and understanding that there's probably some areas where, whether it's culturally or in some of the things they need to invest in here in the next few years, I think they have a good sense of where they can get better. So I definitely, I'm sure some people look at it and say this has some bust potential because Brent Venables hasn't been a head coach before. But man, I'd be surprised if this doesn't work out really well for them.
Why would you say that people don't think Brent Venables could be a good head coach? Just because it's been so he's had opportunities. He's maybe an older start as a head coach than most would be.
No, I think people would just look at Oklahoma and say, whenever they go into the SEC, and if that's sooner than later, is there going to be, certainly a period there at the start where you're not as successful, where the schedule's a lot harder and the record's a lot different, and how does how do you, build from there and become an SEC contender? I guess we just don't know when that day is going to come. But I'm sure some people, I don't know. I've seen a little bit of that, probably not among Oklahoma fans, certainly not among them. I think they're like, he's one of us. He's put a perfect staff together. I think that he is bringing the right stuff from Clemson while also keeping the things that OU's done so well. I think bringing Jerry Schmidt back was a brilliant move on his part to take him from Jimbo, and I think he's going to do all the right things, and I think that as long as they're in the Big 12, they're going to be a problem.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, national college football writer, Sikkim 365 Radio. You have the regulars that everyone knows. It will be a part of whatever the discussion is for the national championship, and those who have been the dogs the last few years. Is there somebody that hasn't been, Max, that's just underperforming or maybe has been on the way up that might be able to interrupt that party? I know that's kind of a random thing with 115 schools, but any idea, anyone come to mind?
Is this a way to get Nebraska football into the conversation?
No, they're not trending up. There's no trending up. They suck. And they had another player enter the transfer. No, I'm asking, there are some blue bloods who are trying to get themselves back in the equation. Some of them always think they are, and they underachieve. But anyone in particular?
Well, I would say some of the programs that are not the usual contenders, like I think going into this year, I know they're really excited about what they've got going on at Utah. I think certainly you saw the way that they were able to be really dominant late in the season and have a chance to beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, and they whipped Oregon twice. I think that they're bringing a lot of pieces back that you feel really good about. Can they be that dark horse playoff contender? I think the same, another one that's kind of flying under the radar is NC State. That's just one of those teams that really kind of brought everybody back. I mean, obviously they've got the offensive tackle who, could be the number one overall pick or a top 5 pick or whatever, but man, pretty much everybody else from that team is coming back. And so there's some of those kind of teams, and I'm sure Baylor belongs in that category too, just in terms of what they're returning. That there's some of those teams that you just say on paper, you like the experience and you like the pieces they've got and stuff like that. But in terms of the blue bloods, I don't know, because there's just so many of these that have changed coaches this offseason. I mean, of all of those ones, which ones would you say you're most confident that they're going to get it flipped fast? Would it be maybe Notre Dame because it's the least amount of transition?
I think that there may be a little bit of I don't want to say breath of fresh air with Marcus Freeman because he was there, but I do think that maybe there is more upside and there is less of a bumpy waters or whatever, choppy waters because of the transition. Yeah. He was already there. Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah. And there's certainly pieces that they've got to find a quarterback this year. Al Golden is their DC. I guess we won't know until we see it, sort of how well that fits into everything. But I'm excited about where he has that program going. I think they're going to recruit it at a higher level under him too. But I think of those ones that you look at it and say, how long is it going to take for them to get back on top? I think USC is probably going to take a little longer than Lincoln Riley thinks. I could be dead wrong on that. I think LSU, roster-wise, has got some work to do to get back up there, probably Florida too. But, with the portal now too and the way that you can acquire talent a lot faster, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some of these that are going to, blow up right away in year one.
I'm curious about Notre Dame just because there was such relief when Brian Kelly left. Is that going to be too, like, were they too happy that he's gone? And, because you have a personality conflict, you maybe don't realize the good things he was doing. And I'm not sitting here advocating for Brian Kelly in any way. I'm just saying that sometimes you do that at a workplace, like, glad that a-hole's gone, and then you're like, well, he was actually pretty damn good at his job.
Notre Dame and TCU are about to find that out, aren't they? Yeah.
And and I think that with Marcus Freeman, you got to keep in mind he's only been at Notre Dame for 1 year, and I've talked to people who work with him who say, like, this guy's, one of those people you circle as, like, kind of the future of the profession, that he'll be, has a chance to be one of the most successful coaches here over the next decade. But, to have no head coaching experience, to have 1 year of experience at Notre Dame, he was at Cincinnati before that. I mean, I think he's going to be successful, but there's still, as we've seen, as we've seen with some of these kind of hotshot guys, you still got stuff to learn when you take over these jobs. And, the job's not getting any easier, and as we're seeing with all the sort of off-field, off-season stuff, the job requires a lot, and so sort of his evolution as a head coach will be fun to follow. But I think that guy's really, really, really sharp, and excited to see what he can do there.
There are going to be some growing pains, no matter what. Good things that happen, and then there's going to be some that don't. Go ahead,
Max. Didn't get to talk to you last week. Your thoughts on JT Daniels to West Virginia?
Yeah, I think the fit's good on that one on both sides. West Virginia wanted to go through spring ball and see what they had. They knew they had a younger quarterback room, with Garrett Green being maybe the best of that group, but a guy that, other than running the ball, didn't really get to do a whole lot last year, and still has a lot of growing to do as a passer. And I think on JT Daniels' side, West Virginia needs a 1 year guy, and JT Daniels, wants to go to a place where he can kind of really shine and be the guy. And there's no question. I mean, not to say he won't have to compete, but I think that, this is a good fresh start for him. Another fresh start, obviously, but a good fresh start for him. And from what I've heard, I think he'll try and help them recruit some more transfers to come there this summer. And so, offensively, they've got a lot. It's going to look a lot different because they brought in Graham Harrell, and I think that's a solid fit for Daniels. But they've got to find some new guys at receiver. They've got to replace Levy Brown, who we all know has been really good there. And how the puzzle all fits together, I don't know. But I think that's probably as good of a QB take as they could have had this spring.
True or false? You are up in line for the Big 12 commissioner role.
Ooh, haven't gotten that call yet.
Okay. Dang.
I'd take the meeting. I mean, I'd take the meeting. Those guys are well compensated, aren't they?
Yes, they
are.
Yeah.
No, they have a lot of numbers to the left of the decimal. Lots and lots of numbers.
But I would say I haven't started working on the the deck, like the presentation yet. No, I haven't started putting my materials together. I don't think I'm going to be on that list to be candid with you guys.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, we would enjoy that.
Do you have anybody in mind? I mean, does it seem like a layup? Oliver Luck just makes sense. It's kind of quieted down since Bowlesby made that announcement. There was a big, Schultz as well as another name. But has there been any chatter on your end, or has it kind of been the same stuff from a week ago?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Schultz came out and said he's not interested in the job, and that surprised me a little bit. I saw also this week that Oliver Luck just took a new job, a full-time consulting job, I think in the NIL space. So, I am curious to see who's kind of getting in line for this one. Not to say that there won't be a lot of demand, but I don't know. I have to start checking with some people and seeing what direction this is going. But probably a little early on that in terms of true candidates. Yeah. But I don't think that there's. I mean, it could be Luck. It could be he could be the runaway guy once they get this process going. That wouldn't stun me, but I do think it's pretty wide open as we get going here.
Thank you, Max. As always, Max Olson, senior college football writer, theathletic.com, will join us. He joins us most every Thursday during that time. Sometimes the babysitting duties can get in the way. We understand that's the priority. When we come back, Cowboys writer Mickey Spagnuolo. The draft is 1 week from this evening. And Mickey will break down a couple of things maybe that he's seen, heard, his ear to the ground from Frisco and the Star. Craig's off the radar in about 20 minutes or so. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I was at Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans earlier this week and was having a conversation with Cheyenne and Ashley. And I said, okay, what is the number one cigar? And, of course, they sell a ton of them. But right now, the number one cigar is Padron 1964, the Natural Torpedo. And they have that cigar and many others, Macanudo, Aston, and much more, Rocky Patel, Arturo Fuente, Romeo and Julieta, Cohiba, Gurkha. They have those brands, those great names of cigars inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. But they do have the number one cigar right now, Padron 1964 Natural Torpedo. They have a CBD sale going on. And I've told you about this, Vitadream, CBD, a product, a gummy. They changed the manufacturer, but they do have the containers of either 30, 50, or 80 of the gummies. And it allows you to fall asleep easier. It allows you, if you have a lot in your mind, whether it's financial, personal, health, whatever it might be, or just a lot of things you're about to have to do and you can't sleep, Vitadreams will help you fall asleep and get that extra 30, 45 minutes, maybe even longer, or an hour. When you wake up the next morning, you hit snooze, you might still be a little bit grumpy, but not nearly as much because you'll slept more. It's Vitadreams, Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. And 1 week from tonight, the NFL Draft, and the build-up, of course, is always fun. And then all of a sudden, you do have 7 rounds and people have new players. Mickey, thank you very much. And this is somewhat generic, but if you had a choice, or what they need most coming out of that those first 2 days, what do you think they must fill based on, of course, who's available and eventually who gets picked ahead of them?
Oh, boy. Here's an open-ended answer. They need a player that can be a walk-in starter. And I don't care where it's at. If it's at wide receiver, if it's on the offensive line, if it's at defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker. They've got so many needs, David, if you start looking at it, that they just can't go wrong with the position. Now, where they could go wrong is not taking the best player available and reaching for a position. Because that's the last thing you want to do. And I know that's a generic answer, but I think that, Stephen Jones this week on a radio interview hit it in the head. He goes, we've got to select good players, not by position, but by quality and talent. And really, if you look at it, I bet I can only give you maybe 3 positions that they don't need somebody at, and they only got 1 first-round pick, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, over those first 3 days, if you can find 2 guys capable of starting immediately and a third guy that can get into the rotation and add those to what you did last year, I think they would be in pretty good shape. And to me, when you look at positions of importance, positions that the NFL pays, right, then it's wide receiver, defensive end, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, linebacker, and then guard. And not big on a guard. I'm big on a tackle who can play guard and then eventually move the tackle, but not just a pure guard unless you think you've got the next Zach Martin.
Mickey, when a player, let's just use the example of Deebo Samuel, demands a trade and blah, 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 and then likes a Cowboys post on social media, how big of a headache is that to a Cowboys beat writer? And 2, how many players do you think the Cowboys would have had over the years if their agents had been right in saying the Cowboys are totally interested in this guy?
Yeah, because you know why they say that? Because they think, well, if the Cowboys want him, we better pay more, right?
Yeah.
Look, his whole deal is about money. He's entering the last year of his 4-year contract. Remember, he was a second-round player, right? Mm-hmm. And he's set to play for $3.9 million. And he just saw a wide receiver go for $30 million a year. And he just saw another wide receiver go for $28.5 million a year. And he's going to make 3.9. So this whole thing about wanting to be traded, no, he wants his money. And they probably haven't made headway with San Francisco trying to renegotiate an extension. And so that's the next thing you do. Your agent tells you, ask for a trade and scrub your Instagram account. I mean, I heard a 15-minute discussion on that the other day about, he's not happy, he's not getting along with this person or that person. No, he doesn't like his contract. That's why he's saying all that. I mean, it's the same thing with Kyler Murray, right? He wants a better contract. It's always about the money.
Mickey, Kelvin Joseph, they made a couple of arrests. It was not him a few days ago in regards to that situation from a few weeks ago. I know he's been back at these practices and workouts, but is just everything kind of back to normal? Is this going to be a process that you have to wait and see play out in terms of him and his future with the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think for him it's holding your breath, right, to see what exactly the legal process is, and then after that, what the NFL process is. It's never good to be in a car where the shooters end up murdering somebody, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of leaves the Cowboys in a lurch too. You know, I mentioned all those positions. Well, you can throw cornerback in there too, because not knowing, and you know, they might know more than has been let out on what his potential status is. But if they don't, then you got three cornerbacks, your top three guys. But look at it this way: after this year, Anthony Brown's contract is up. Jordan Lewis would have one more year, and Trayvon Diggs, this is his third year. So after this, he would have one more year. And you drafted a corner in the second round, thinking, okay, we've got depth. We got a guy that can challenge for a starting spot, and if nothing else, in 3 years, I might have a starter. Well, they might not have that guy, and the worst part of it is, if you look at some of the guys that got drafted after them that they could have had, that makes it even more painful if he's not available.
Mickey, on the best available player. If you have a strength at a position, but your board says this player, whether it's a guard, a linebacker, a corner, or whoever, do you just still draft that best available player? Because eventually the cream rises to the top and then just adds depth where you already are pretty good?
Yeah, and I think within reason, right? If you get to 24 and the best available player is a quarterback, you're not doing that. Probably not doing it with a running back. I don't think there's a tight end that would be the best available player. But I'm telling you, after that, I think best available and Cowboy needs would match up because they need so many different things. They've got so many question marks at so many positions that if you draft a offensive lineman, if you draft a defensive end, a tackle, a cornerback, and probably not a cornerback just because of the situation you're in right now. But I mean, think about it. You know, last year they were dead set on taking a corner, right? And then Micah Parsons lands in their lap. The year before they were dead set on taking a linebacker / defensive end, and CeeDee Lamb lands in their lap. So yeah, I think you got to be flexible enough to say, look, I can find a place. Because I can remember, David, last year when I and I'm not bragging, but I liked Micah Parsons. I thought he was the best guy that they could take. And everybody said, well, where would you play him? And I said, on the field. You find a spot for a guy that's that talented. So no matter what the position is, you'll find a spot for a defensive end. You'll find a spot. Hey, they can find a spot for a linebacker. Because if you think about it, right now it's Parsons and Van Der Esch on a 1-year contract. And after that, they're saying, well, yeah, but we got Jabril Cox. He was our 4th-round pick. Well, you know how many snaps he got on defense last year? 9. So that's no sure thing that he's going to step in and say, yeah, if you're going to go 3 linebackers, I can be one of those starting 3. You don't know that. And he's coming off an ACL. Same thing at wide receiver. Okay, you're saying CeeDee Lamb's going to be your number 1 receiver. Are you sure? Because you got to be right. And then who's number 2? Because Gallup won't be there for a month. You got James Washington, but there's got to be a question mark over him. And then after that, it's either another free agent or a draft choice. And look, free agent guys to fill spots. If you're a free agent and it's May 1st and you don't have a job, well, I'll tell you what, wide receiver, guard, tackle, those prices are going to come down significantly.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate your time, my friend. A week from tonight, the NFL draft, and then new players. And Micah Parsons, of course, turned out to be incredible. Cowboys really have drafted well. That, again, the Kelvin Anthony, there were red flags, but they can't hide it. Kelvin Joseph. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there were red flags, but there's certain, like that second round, man, they just can't help themselves at times. But Micah Parsons is a freaking great player. And the offensive line stretch that they went through, they ended up with, Frederick, and then Martin, Tyron Smith, and think about it. And then Lyle Collins fell on their lap because he could go and become a free agent. They could have missed on all of them, but they made those picks. But they've wasted so many opportunities with the players they've had, the quarterbacks they've had, the skilled people they've had.
You got to hit on some guys. You're getting 7-8 picks a year. You better have hit on a handful of guys that you just mentioned. So, yeah, I give them credit for some of the picks that they've made. But, ultimately, I think if you probably averaged it out, it's probably about average across the league.
And right now, I can make the argument that they have, two of them are still playing, but and one of them, thank God he got a Super Bowl when he did, in DeMarcus Ware, but they wasted DeMarcus Ware and Jason Witten. That's 2 Hall of Famers. And they're wasting 2 Hall of Famers right now in Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. So, you gotta make these guys worthwhile. Make it worth their while.
It's hard to screw up Tyron Smith or Zach Martin, but you could have picked somebody else that was pretty good too. But these, and
I do feel like they've drafted relatively well. But there have been moments. Dak fell in their lap. That was pure luck. That was nothing more than luck. They can say all they want to. They were going to draft a different quarterback. We've already gone over that. And it would have been an absolute abysmal failure versus what it ended up being for them. So they've been quite lucky as well. But I think, too, when, every year you're like, oh, let's go draft CeeDee Lamb. It makes it exciting, but it's not necessarily – he's fine. I'm not talking about him specifically, but, you kind of look at the headlines of who was drafted and not so much the depth of it and then how that ends up working out ultimately over the next few years. So, you can point to several stars that they've drafted, but, probably about average across the league, maybe a little bit better than that in terms of who they've hit on. They've certainly hit on probably more consistently like Hall of Fame type guys, but as far as hitting on 5-6 every class or something like that, no, it's probably about average.
And where they're really deficient is in the 4th and 5th rounds, where outside of Dak Prescott, who's a 4th rounder, understandably, but if you look at the 4th and 5th rounds where teams like, and Mike McCarthy was good at this in Green Bay, and it was just Mike McCarthy, but the GMs that were there under Mike McCarthy are with him, but there are teams that are really good at using the volume picks. They have 5 or 4 5th-round picks this year. Using those picks, and if you have 4 5th-round picks, you're probably not getting 4 starters, but the good teams like the Ravens can find 2. And then you're like, who is this guy? He plays there for 8 years, and maybe he's a Pro Bowler a couple times, may not be a first-team All-Pro, but he gets through 2 contracts with them, and he's a key cog in the machine. That's where the Cowboys have been really deficient in finding those guys in the later rounds that are key cogs in the machine that nobody saw coming.
I like they were in the 5th straight year of the Cowboys could use a safety.
They don't care.
Baltimore's got 17 of them that can all play. It's wild how that works.
One of the other things that they've done, though, to supplement some of the success, despite not the kind that they want or expect, is that they did a pretty good job in those 1-year hits last year with some of the players as well. Let's come back. Craig's off the radar. In the 5 o'clock hour, Aaron Suttles covers Alabama for theathletic.com. And then Dan Brooke, he's a sculptor. He sculpted the 2 statues over at McLean Stadium of, oh my God, I just went blank. Medal, the veteran,
the Medal of Honor winners.
Medal of Honor winners from Baylor University, and also has done one on Grant Taft, who will be honored tomorrow afternoon at McMurray University, where he was once a player and also a coach. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr, as they always do, the people that you can count on. I can attest to that, having had to go by there a couple of times to help get some repairs done, and didn't even buy my car from them. But they have great customer service, and I will be going back to get other things done as a result of the way that they treated me. Right now, they got new cars and trucks arriving weekly. Go by the dealership or go online to richardcar.com to see the current inventory, and you can go by and see the GMC, Buick, and Cadillacs that are en route to the dealership. Put your name on their inbound vehicle list before anybody else, and that'll put you in line to get your vehicle as quickly as possible. But if you can't afford to wait, you need a car today, you want to save, consider one of their dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection so you can drive them with peace of mind, and they pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They will say yes to loans when others say no. For qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now, get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. You can talk about that with them when you go over to the dealership to get your name on that inbound vehicle list, or when you go to show up and try to buy one of these great pre-owned vehicles that they have available right away. They are loaded with those premium pre-owns, and again, those have all undergone inspections, and they have over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you into a car today. Again, 100% credit approval is always the goal. So if you're looking to buy new, give them a call. Get on that inbound vehicle list. If you're looking to get into a car today, well, they can hook you up with that as well. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, taking a look at some stories that we might not otherwise get to or spend too much time on. So just a grab bag of articles from around the sports world. And we just got done talking Cowboys. I debated for a moment on whether or not to ask Mickey about it, but I figured we'll ask him when the schedule actually does come out. But we did get word today that there's a date for when the schedules are going to come out for next year's NFL season, and it's amazing, how they've done it now to where even the schedule announcement is like a freaking Oscars presentation. Like in terms of everybody's like, oh my gosh, the schedule releases tonight. It's like, you already know who they're playing, so why is that big of a deal? But according to diehard NFL fans who I've talked to, get excited about schedule releases. Well, you got to see the dates, and you got to see when, what 3-game stretches they have and all of that. So we won't know that exactly for about 2 more weeks. It'll come out on May the 12th. That's when they'll have the big NFL Network special and all of that. But we do know who the Cowboys are going to be playing, and it should be a very interesting little crop of games for them in 2022. You can get used to coming to AT&T Stadium. If you want to start lining up to buy your tickets right now. The Cincinnati Bengals will be at AT&T Stadium this year. Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bengals and Bucs both come into AT&T Stadium this season. They'll be on the road. And, of course, the NFC East games are in this mix as well. But the road trips, the Packers, you'll have the Vikings, Jaguars, Titans, and Rams. So that's a pretty salty little schedule right there for the Dallas Cowboys. Bengals, Bucs, Rams, Titans. I mean,
and for some reason, whatever reason, you'd think that's going to be 4 very difficult games, along with 3 or 4 others that we don't even, we do know. But how many of those teams, with the NFL, you could have a team that's really, really good in the next year, but those 4 seem to be set up for pretty good success moving forward. Yeah.
By the way, Craig, there's a movie I highly recommend it. Anybody wants to watch it. It's from 2009. It's got Patton Oswalt in it. It's called Big Fan. Yeah. And he plays a guy who's like an obsessed Giants fan who stalks his favorite player, and eventually the guy beats him up. And it's kind of a bizarre story, but
kind of a twist on The Fan, the Wesley Snipes movie. Yeah.
But
was that Wesley Snipes?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But there's a scene in the movie at the beginning and the end where he and his best friend are going over the schedule for the Giants, and it's at least 13-3, and they're going through it, and you every time the schedule release comes out, I think of guys like that go, they're 12-4 worst, right? At worst, you really don't know.
Oh, you have no idea, and I'm sure that day will come, and we'll go through one by one and say that's a win and that's a loss, and you don't know. But hey, it's a good schedule. I mean, there's going to be some high profile matchups because the Cowboys, whether they're good or not, them and the Bucs or them and the Rams and them and the Bengals will all be treated like regular season Super Bowls by the broadcast. So it'll be interesting to see that, and that'll, like I said, come out on May the 12th, the actual release date and when those games will be. I mentioned, we talked, I think, very briefly with Max Olson about that Lincoln Riley piece in the Players Tribune. He wrote about his decision to leave Oklahoma and go to USC. The first half of the article was basically, sorry this took so long, and here's why I love you and always will, Oklahoma. And then the second half of the article was basically a recruiting pitch for USC, it felt like. Would I be getting that wrong? Did you guys take it that way? I mean, what did y'all think of Lincoln Riley's Players Tribune article?
Well, it's about 5 months late, but at the same time, not 5, maybe it is 5. I didn't learn anything. I don't think I learned anything. I don't. Maybe that was an article, with all due respect to Lincoln Riley, that he wanted to write to help him get past any.
I think that's exactly what it was, and it was very clear that's what it was.
Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm right.
He didn't really. I mean, what was he going to explain? He explained why he went, and he kind of did that, but it was the same stuff we had heard before about it was just a calling, and he's excited and all of that, and it really was nothing against Oklahoma, but I know Oklahoma fans don't necessarily believe that, so yeah, I mean, it probably would have been better served about 3 months ago.
Well, I thought about it when I saw it come down. There's like a therapeutic exercise. Like if you have unresolved feelings for someone who's like died, a therapist will make you write a letter to them. And then get all the things out. So he kind of wrote a letter to somebody who was dead, but actually sent it. I mean, that's how I got. I was like, oh, I mean, you're carrying some guilt about the way this went down. And look, I think Lincoln Riley's a pretty good dude, and he probably does have some guilt about the way it went down because it was a little.
He said that,
yeah. But and so he's got it off his chest, and he can move on. It's the world that we live in. That's college football works, and he's making more money than it's a good move for him personally. So yeah, he can let go of the guilt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he feels better and feels like he got something off of his chest. Didn't really probably do too much for Oklahoma fans, but he said there towards the end, since my move, many have asked me why would I leave Oklahoma, and the best and most honest answer is that the opportunity at USC was simply the right job at the right time for me and my family. We all have moments in life where we are faced with difficult choices, and this was the path my family and I chose. I don't expect everyone to understand. In my line of work, that's not possible. So
when you are a ultimate blue blood, it is hard for a fan base to ever think there's a reason you should leave them for another college team. For the NFL, maybe, but that's what probably hurts Oklahoma fans as well.
This was another story I wasn't going to ask Mickey about because I just didn't know what he could really answer. But the woman who did sue Jerry Jones, claiming that she was his father, has apparently dropped that lawsuit. The 25-year-old who alleged that Jerry was her dad, dropped the lawsuit. Alexandra Davis said on Wednesday she now wants genetic testing to verify her claim, according to the Dallas Morning News. And so that's the route that her lawyers say that she's going to take. Jones's attorneys had asked for the suit to be dismissed, but did not talk at all about the paternity side of it. And so it's been tossed, and now we'll see if there's follow-up to it. Yeah. But, I don't know what to think of this. I really have. She could be totally out of her mind. She could be totally right. I have no clue.
Well, given how powerful I'm sure his lawyers are, and she's going to have to follow around him and grab his coffee cup when it hits the ground.
Discard cigar or
so
something.
You don't
like
think
that,
there's any way that she...
she might,
I
but
think she
got a little bit more out of this?
Yeah. But she could, but Jerry is not going to willfully submit to a DNA test.
Yeah, she's tossing the suit, but she still wants the DNA test and to confirm the parenting. So I don't know how she goes about doing all that, but just of note, and that's why I didn't ask Mickey about it, because we're going to break it down like a football game. I mean, what can you really say? Because none of us really know what the heck's going on in reality with her accusations.
Was it worth it to her? Is a check worth that? And do you feel like Jerry lost a second of sleep over that?
I don't know. It depends on how guilty he feels over whatever it may be. Because, if there's no truth to it, then I'm sure he slept fine. But if there's some truth to it, I'm sure it bothered him a little bit.
Even the billionaires, there are things that can make you go, man.
Well, money makes little stresses go away. It doesn't make all stress go away. Yeah. It makes oh, my God, how am I going to pay rent this month? Those things you never have to worry about again. But there's a lot of other stuff that you do have to worry about. Also, elsewhere... let's see here. We talk about streaming services all the time. It's not necessarily sports related, but it kind of is. After just 3 weeks, CNN Plus is apparently shutting down. They lasted a month, maybe, giving them the full meal deal there. But they were promoting the heck out of it, launched it at the end of last month, and it's already come to a close, and we're only at April 21st. So all that talent that they had brought in, you got to feel for those people who maybe left where they were to come join this new venture, and it lasts 3.5, 4 weeks.
But and you have that platform to promote it?
Yeah, but it's kind of, you saw Netflix shares are down massively, and people are starting to get kind of fed up with Netflix. There's just so many options out there that again, it's put it very simply, people look up and they look at their cable bill and they compare it to their 10 streams that they buy every month, and look, you're actually paying more. You thought you were paying, because there's so many different platforms that you have depending on what all you want to watch. But basic point being is that there's so many that something's got to fall to the wayside. I just didn't expect, one of them that with a big backing to last less than a month.
Well, and they're also part of the big merger, the Discovery, HBO, Warner Brothers thing. So, and the Discovery Plus and HBO Max are about to be one gigantic
platform. So
what are the numbers at like right now for CNN compared to 10 years ago?
Oh, I mean, they're way down. I'm sure. Yeah.
Say that about any network.
Yeah,
down.
no, you're right. And you know what's interesting is that Plus, ESPN had ESPN Plus, and I swore to God I would never, ever pay for it. And you know what? They've had some pretty good things on there. And I now, that doesn't bother me that I pay.
Here's the thing. A lot of people said that, and then they said, like, hey, we know that you're a sports fan who's addicted to X team and you want it shot right into your veins. The only place you can watch that game is right here. So
yeah, but there's some pretty good things on there. I've actually maybe watched it more than I thought I ever would, and not just because of a team I have to cover, but there's been a couple other things they've put up there that I thought were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a boogeyman. I mean, it's just showing stuff that you can't find anywhere else. Like, I couldn't watch Baylor's season opener last year without ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I probably shouldn't have watched it anyways, I would have learned more, actually.
Never unsee the production of that, yeah.
No, but they did have some tie-ins with CNN Plus. You know, Jamel Hill, Kari Champion had a series. You had Rex Chapman doing some stuff, I think, as well. But, yeah, CNN Plus, you know, in the streaming age that we live in is already going to the wayside.
Not doing anything.
Hollywood, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon. Yeah, you see where I'm coming from?
He was tapping my leg here.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They are going to star in a new movie about the early days of Nike. Matt Damon will play Sonny Vaccaro, and Ben Affleck will play Phil Knight. Affleck will also direct the movie. The synopsis: Damon will portray Vaccaro, Affleck plays Knight, in a story around Nike's long-shot effort to sign rising superstar basketball player Michael Jordan to its company in the mid-'80s, and that's what it will revolve around, not the beginnings of Nike so much, but like the Jordan side of things. It will talk about courting him, becoming just a massive brand in the mid-'80s. The endorsement seemed impossible at the time, but thanks to the Maverick sneaker salesman, would become the most significant relationship between an athletic brand and an athlete, and then obviously it just changed everything.
He gets 100. Did I see 130 or 100 and some $1 million a year from Nike?
Oh, easily.
Jordan does.
Well, yeah. In Winning Time, that show about the Lakers, that the Lakers are all people all pissed about it.
Yeah.
But there is a scene where Phil Knight. They talk about Phil Knight went to Magic Johnson, was the first one he tried to do this deal with, and offered him, because he couldn't offer him cash, offered him shares of Nike, and those shares, even though Magic's doing great now, would be worth $5.2 billion that he took them and been the face of Nike. But I'm sure Jordan had somewhat of a similar deal, but it's less. But I'll tell you this: if I'm Phil Knight, a guy who's not 6'4" and 225 pounds of ripped ass muscle, because that's what Ben Affleck is, I'd be like, hell yeah, Ben Affleck's playing me. Yeah. That's what I look like.
Yeah.
The story will focus on Vaccaro's relentless quest to sign Jordan to what was then the third place shoe company, and then it gets into the whole deal. So yeah, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon in a movie about Nike pursuing Michael Jordan. That'll be interesting. I might check that out, given that cast. Those two, they usually make pretty good films, so I'll check that out.
How much money do you have to be Phil Knight? Can somebody put up a picture of Phil? Can you put up a picture of Phil Knight real quick, Armstrong? If you can. I mean, you guys are looking at him right here.
Well, when we get it up, put it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you can be
what was your question?
You know who's going to play me? Batman.
Yeah.
That's not Batman.
No, I know.
Yeah, well, it's not modern day Phil Knight.
Yeah,
it's
still
1980s Phil Knight. So
okay, look, there's 1980s Phil Knight.
Yeah.
I've got it. Yeah.
Hey, I'll take a piece of 1980s Phil Knight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
All right, elsewhere, don't know if you guys saw this, but the Yankees and Padres apparently having some chatter about Joey Gallo. And I have not followed Joey Gallo. I'm a Rangers fan, so I don't follow baseball much anyways. But in all seriousness, I like Joey Gallo well enough. It became increasingly frustrating to watch that big, long home run that everybody would go gaga over and then watch him strike out 5 times the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So, the Yankees got excited from what I could tell when they grabbed him. But it looks like that honeymoon is over, Paul, and you would know better.
Yeah.
They are basically fed up with Joey Gallo, very frustrated, and now he may be reuniting with some former Rangers brass in San Diego. At least that's the rumor mill right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. He's batting 135.
He's got benched.
He got benched. He was today. They played a day game against the Tigers and lost 3-0. He was.
Yeah, did you hear what happened?
1 for 4.
Miguel Cabrera came into the day 4 hits away from 3,000, They intentionally walked him a hit away from 3,000.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's annoying.
Hey, come on.
Petty.
Yeah.
Petty.
And especially when you've already got 3 hits. Like, the odds are not that you're going to do it. But Joey Gallo.
No, the odds are you're going to do it. To me, you're red hot.
But Joey Gallo, I thought in New York where that short right field porch is that he would flourish, but he is not. And he's just striking out at the same rate, even worse.
Yeah, so I don't know if he'll hit to San Diego. I saw some Rangers fans saying, like, hey, I'd welcome him back, and, they're not that great. So, but then again, he can't pitch. I mean, I guess in theory he could, but that's not really, as much of their issue.
2-9.
Yeah, that ballpark's really going to get paid off quickly, huh? That was really, glad they put a good brand on the field for that new ballpark. All right, speaking of ballparks, speaking of just I don't know, just not good things. I mean, the Joey Gallo thing is it is what it is. It's negative, though. But the Oakland A's, they've long for, 20, 30 years now been the butt of jokes about their crowd sizes and their dump of a ballpark and just the messy political scene there with them and their sports franchises that's seen them go from, a borderline Big Four city to a one-town city that's only the A's now. Well, last night, history was made. The lowest attendance for a home opener without coronavirus restrictions in more than 30 years. The A's drew a crowd of 3,748 people, and it probably wasn't even that many. That was paid, 3,748. Smallest with fans at the Coliseum since they drew 3,180 people back in 1980 against the Chicago White Sox.
I had one story from Wednesday's loss to Baltimore. It might have been even 2,703. Think about that.
There were more people in the stadium during the pandemic, and that's in Northern California. It was really bad.
It was a midday game. This is from The Athletic. The everyday game outside of Cleveland, doubleheader. White Sox averaged about 20,000 more fans. That's bad. Man, that is bad.
No, I saw a picture from the other night, and yesterday might have actually been the worst. That was just like they announced that was like the lowest mark since whatever. But it's probably going to get broken over and over again, honestly. I mean, it probably will. And I saw a picture of it the other night, and it was not good. And actually, 39 minutes ago, A's it's already been trumped. It's already been trumped, fellas. 2,703 fans.
No, that's what I just mentioned.
I know. Yeah. I'm saying, the one that I was reading was from 2 nights ago.
Yep.
So then they trumped it one day later with 2,703. Goodness, 2,700 fans at a baseball game, Major League Baseball game. So
you can hear a pin drop.
Las Vegas A's, here we come. Huge news in the NBA. As far as injury news goes, Devin Booker of the Suns expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks with a grade 1 hamstring strain that he suffered in Game 2 against the Pelicans. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, so that is massive news for the Suns. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons, good old Ben Simmons, has been waiting patiently. Apparently is going to make his debut in Game 4 against the Celtics. So we will finally see Ben Simmons after all that time. But that's awful news for the Suns, losing Devin Booker. So we'll see how that goes for them.
So who gets them next? Who could benefit if he's out for 2 or 3 weeks? Who's next?
Well, right now
line?
The Pelicans, because they're playing them.
No, you're right.
Tied at 1.
Not just next round. I'm sitting there taking that for granted. You're right.
Yeah, no, I mean, seen some, like the opener last year with Baylor, did not have instant replay. But if you do, then second half targeting fouls can now be appealed, and they will check it out. And if it's obvious, this was a
Knights carrying members. The plane, apparently there was not enough communication. Paul, look up the stats for Shaden Sharp from Kentucky.
Hey, I want to mention this real quick. Just saw from Mark Stein, Luka is going to be expected back in Game 4. So not tonight.
Enrolled in the spring.
Right.
So that he could, so he would not have played. I mean, I guess he maybe could have played because they were still playing, but yeah. He didn't play.
He never had played
add that to the he never even played.
And how about this? Tell me if you guys think this is a fireable offense that carries ice runoff from the Zamboni machines at Little Caesars Arena. Someone saw him, and it wasn't like the drain was carrying things to a faucet.
Here's the thing. He picked the drain that he knows.
Well, I got urinary infection, so I don't know. I don't know enough about his actual condition.
Billy Mays, is you have to do something about it. Plus, it does affect my smile, and you're probably talking to a bunch of you. Eventually, it's going to get worse.
Dr. Childress has convinced me to...
And you get to speak to a real person about your specific...
There's over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, road...
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
It's not Mickey. He was on about an hour ago, but we waited on Aaron Suttles, theathletic.com, and Dan Brook will join us. A sculptor, has a Grant Taft sculptor, a statue being unveiled tomorrow at McMurray University. But breaking news, at least temporarily right now, involving Baylor men's basketball. Craig?
Yeah, Jonathan Giovanni from Draft Express reporting as of 10 minutes ago, Baylor's Adam Flagler will enter the NBA draft while maintaining his college eligibility. He apparently told ESPN, and then it posts his numbers, 40% from 3 the past 2 seasons, all Big 12, 2021 NCAA champ, all that. But yeah, going to the draft, Adam Flagler, but will not hire an agent so he can potentially return to Baylor.
Yeah, and again, Flagler's a tremendous shooter, had a lot of bumps and bruises during this last season that led to some of the issues that they had. Great kid, great young man, wish him the best, but he's putting his toes in the water. You can do that. You can test it. Last year they had people test it. The year before that, Mitchell and Butler, right?
Matthew Meyer.
Maceo Teague, Matthew Meyer. But we obviously have to mention it, is Adam Flagler puts his toes in the water, and now I think the deadline is May 1st. And so Matthew Meyer has his decision coming up at some point as well. He's got to make that decision before, I believe it's the May 1st, to enter the NBA draft.
I actually think it's sooner than that. I think it's
like tomorrow?
Sunday, yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's coming up.
What was I thinking about? May 1st?
May 1st is transfer portal.
Transfer portal,
football,
that's right. God, I can't keep it all up. Okay, that's right. All right. So Adam Flagler.
This looks like Sunday is Sunday's the final day. April 24th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern deadline to declare if you're an early entrant.
Okay, there you go. Aaron Suttles' interview. Listen, you want to try Brooke now? You want to call him the sculptor?
Yeah, sure.
Let's try to get Dan Brook, the sculptor, and then maybe we can flip from him to your mic's on. Aaron Suttles on Alabama after that. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sport. The chat room has been a mess today. There's some of you are just like all over the place, but there are some college football notes, and we appreciate you guys sticking to the topic, whoever has done that as well. Daniel Acton, did Armstrong trip over a cable in the closet again? Armstrong, what'd you do? Did Daniel lose the signal or whatever it might be? So, I don't know. All right, we kind of treading water here. Dan Brook, again, the sculptor, did not answer, so we'll try
Adam
to dodge
Flagler,
it.
what do you think?
I'm trying to let everyone know about the schedule. Adam Flagler, to me, this is not the year to come off this year with what was he dealt with and or his production to be to enter the draft, but I can understand why he would at least put his toes in the water.
Yeah, I can too. I mean, he's a really good player and somebody who I think would translate well to the next level. Kind of surprising that it's just sort of out of nowhere. To have waited this long before making that decision, I wonder what he may have heard here recently that made him decide on April 21st, just 3 days before the deadline, that all of a sudden he wants to jump in there. It's kind of weird, but I don't know what he's been told, perhaps, and good luck to him. I sure hope he's back at Baylor because obviously that's a big piece of what they would want to be relying on and looking at, building around next year. But I'm just kind of in shock a little bit because that was not something that we were necessarily expecting.
Baylor men's basketball on Twitter. You might want to pick up some popcorn on your way home today. Got something for you at 6:30.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be Milo Little, probably enrolling a year early. That's a total guess on my part, but is it Miro Little? And I'd say that only because there was something that he tweeted earlier today that they were you could see the two accounts kind of playing with it. So I'm curious if that means that, perhaps he's enrolling early. That's a total guess on my part. I don't have any Baylor basketball sources telling me that, but that's just reading the tea leaves and reading the tweet that he made and then the Baylor basketball response as well. So, if you're losing Adam Flagler and then, you have a guy come in early, that would help. But maybe you got Adam Flagler back. I guess we will see, kind of how this process goes for him. But he's going to at least test it, and then, we'll see what that big announcement is. But I figured it had something to do with Little because of the timing of it.
Yep, Paul's negotiating who's going to come on next with our segment. But Ashley Hodge retweeted it. Ashley, of course, very much ingrained into what Baylor men's basketball is about as well. Dan Brook joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We've known him because of the Medal of Honor statues, Baylor just around the corner on the concourse of McLean Stadium, but also was commissioned to do a Grant Taft at McMurray that'll be unveiled tomorrow afternoon about the time we start this show. Dan, thanks for your time. When did all that start? How does that go about? Who contacts you and kind of just being a part of that, making a statue about a guy that's a legend and an icon?
Well, David, I haven't looked for work in years. I've been privileged to receive a lot of calls on important commissions, but none of them has been more special than the one here for Coach Taft. And, McMurray just decided that he was somebody that was a part of their history and lore that they needed to bring to the forefront and couldn't allow that to be forgotten, just in the sands of time. So it's a wonderful kind of coming full circle for he and I. I met him when I was 19 years old and came here to play football at Baylor. I'd read his book, I Believe, and I wanted to play ball for a man like that. So that's how it began, and then here we are 45 years later, commemorating him where he began his coaching career at McMurray. He was the youngest football coach in America at the time.
So, Dan, will you, because he was the youngest coach, will it be a younger statue of Grant Taft?
Yes. It'll be his age at the time of the McMurray plane crash, if you're familiar with that, where all the players survived. He, the coaches, and everyone survived the crash, and that was really where he kind of dedicated his coaching career to the Lord, and that was really the beginning of his story. So he was 1 month shy of 30 years old when that occurred. So I captured him at that age.
So, Dan, how does the process work? Do you have, like, photo references? I would imagine you do. But, I mean, can you kind of take us through from the artist's point of view how you get the beginning stages going with creating a piece of art like this?
Well, there's several things you have to do. One, of course, gather as much photographic imagery that's from that period as possible. Meditate on that. You have to come up with a composition. And beyond that, you have to deal with the university regarding the location, and there's an installation that surrounds the sculpture itself that tells the whole story. So once you make the diamond, you get it cut, you got to put it in the right setting. So lots of pieces have to fall into place, which include working with an architect, which I love to do. I consider architects fellow artists, and university officials at McMurray have just been superior to work with. Had a great time with them.
So when you look at what I've seen the statue. Lane, his daughter, sent me a picture of it, and I was going to use it today, but I'd rather not because I think that they put a tarp over it for the unveiling tomorrow, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to put it up there for a second or two, but I'd rather them. I know it's been on campus, but I was going to. It's fantastic, and it is a young version, of course, of Grant Teaff as well. How long does it take to do that? How long does it take to put together the body part of the sculpture?
Well, I'm fond of telling people, David, it only took 35 years. That's how long I've been doing this. Start to finish, I'm working on other projects at the same time. I would say if I just isolated hours, 7-8 months, probably. Because any artist that's any good has a waiting list, and it's a pretty small fraternity of us that excel at this. And I had the Medal of Honor statues at Baylor that was ahead of it. So I was committed to Baylor contractually to finish that before I began coach. So that's why start to finish. We probably started 3 years ago on this with a contract. And it's taken this long just to get to that project. And of course, I was going to give it all the time that it deserved. So, but I'm very happy with how this turned out. It's one of the best pieces I've ever done.
You mentioned the Medal of Honors with John Kane and Jack Loomis. How much did that mean to you? And it's right there on the concourse at McLean Stadium. It's amazing. And that was not, but just recently when that was, of course, when they were unveiled. How, just because of what those two meant and who they were and who they are as far as in their legacy, how much did that mean to you?
Oh, it was huge. It was just the mountain to climb there. How do you do justice to those kind of figures in history? And on top of that, they're both not just Baylor graduates, they're Baylor lettermen, both Baylor football players. So there was so many tie-ins with how important those two figures were. It was that in itself was monumental. Contradictory as it sounds, but it was huge. But we pulled it off. I'm very happy with that work. Everybody at Baylor is thrilled with it. I continue to hear good things about those two sculptures that we've placed there.
I guess the question is, some people are born with, they can draw, they can paint, they can do a lot of things. People have the ability just to sing. They have incredible voices. Is this just a God-given something for you? I know it's not just like, boom, you got to have hard work. You had to learn even along the way. But was this a God-given ability?
Yeah, David, I have some Native American blood, and there's just a real strong artistic gene that flows through that culture. So I hit the ground with some talent, but you know yourself, whether an athlete or a scholar or whatever, there's a whole lot of work that people don't see behind the curtain that goes into anything that approaches greatness. You got to work and develop that talent into something. And there's a lot of technique with sculpture, so I'm fond of saying 97% of this is technique. The other 3% is where the poetry takes over. And I can describe to you technique-wise how to do this, but the part that really sets my work apart is something I can't
Well, you do an incredible job. What you did with the Medal of Honor, Baylor alums is incredible, and also the statue that I've seen, and I'd like to show it, but I'd rather obviously respect the privacy of the event tomorrow. I guess I have one other question. Like, if an artist makes a mistake, if like in the middle of a painting they can regroup or whatever, what happens if something gets chipped off? Or this might be a crazy question. What happens if a mistake is made or something occurs to the statue? What do you do? How do you kind of overcome that?
Well, you mean when it's being originated in clay?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, at that point, you can basically erase, start over. I mean, I've torn those things down and started completely over more than once. I'm really a brutal critic of my own work. So that's at this stage when you can some mistakes you can correct, some you just have to start over with,
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I consider the winning edge is all those little micro adjustments that I make before I release it. By the time it comes out of my studio, it's museum quality work every time.
Good luck. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. You did a remarkable job. I know the Taft family is thrilled, and appreciate you jumping on to kind of describe it, and also what it means to you, is what it's going to mean as well to McMurray University.
Always a pleasure, David. Good luck to you. Sickum.
Dan Brook, sculptor, the Medal of Honor recipients, Kane and Loomis on the campus at Baylor, and also one that will be unveiled tomorrow, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at McMurray University, of a tall, lean, young Grant Tapp. Sickum 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Aaron Suttles, theathletic.com on Alabama Spring. Next, back in a moment. The city of Woodway has the Carleen Bright Auditorium, the Pavilion, the Carleen Bright Arena that's at the Pavilion in Woodway. Why do I bring it up? Because you could host incredible events there. You could host weddings, rehearsals, fundraisers, galas, whatever you want. The Arboretum is there for you, and it's gorgeous. And they also allow outside caterers for an event. Sometimes that might be the deal breaker. That you're going to use this, and this is what you're going to use. Well, no, you could kind of make that decision yourself. DiscoverWoodway.com on the website could also help you with hotels if you're coming to Waco for anything, including Magnolia, the Silos, or any kind of Baylor events, or just to visit, and you can't find one in the city of Waco. Well, basically attached at the hip, and DiscoverWoodway.com can help you with those hotels as well. And if you want to host an event at the Carleen Bright Arboretum, and it's gorgeous, big, huge, beautiful windows that show the landscape around the building, hiking trails, running trails, walking trails, and more. It's DiscoverWoodway.com.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Alabama wrapped up their spring game over the weekend. Aaron Suttles, theathletic.com, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports as well. Aaron, I obviously didn't watch the game. I didn't even see highlights of it, but I saw a couple of things. Did the offense struggle protecting Bryce Young? Is that something, when I read out of that, is that something that was a problem?
Well, I mean, only if a guy getting sacked, 7, 8, 10 times is a problem. I mean, yeah.
Well, I did read that correctly then, yeah.
Aaron, is it
but, I mean, you got to put it into context, too, that Alabama has the best pass rusher in the country. And Will Anderson, I think most people, even if you didn't follow Alabama, by the end of the year when he started getting Heisman hype, most college football fans know who he is. And he's got a bookend guy on the other side, Dallas Turner. And then they got Chris Braswell. So Texas Longhorn fans are going to get up close and personal with Alabama's pass rush the second week of the season.
Aaron, I know Jahmyr Gibbs did well. Their transfers really played well in the game. Is that, the rich are just getting richer there, but was it a concern for Nick Saban that the guys who were new played a little bit better than the guys who'd been there?
No, I think what I took from the spring game, which I don't normally try to take too much into it because, look, Ajay Hall was the best player on Alabama's field last spring, and he barely played football for Alabama last year. He's not even on the team right now. In particular, this one, there was bad weather in the area. They had a running clock. They were basically just trying to get that game over with and nobody hurt. So I do get the spirit of your question though. They got 4 right now transfers they brought in. All 4 are probably going to be starters. They might be bringing in a 5th guy. He was on official. Tyler Harrell from Louisville, wide receiver, was on official visit during A-Day. So they might bring in 5 starters. And so I think what we're seeing with the best programs are, we're going to recruit the best guys, and when there are holes, because Alabama and LSU and Georgia have guys leave after 3 years, when we do have holes, we're going to wait to see who's in the portal, and we're going to go with the best available guy. I think that's the state of college football. Not a lot of people love it, particularly coaches, but a lot of people wanted it. So that's the environment we're in.
Aaron, you mentioned his name, so I ask you, Ajay Hall transferring to Texas, another former Tide player linking up with Steve Sarkisian. I realize that his exit from Alabama wasn't his choice, I guess, necessarily. He was suspended, so I guess he made the choice to enter the portal. But just your thoughts on Hall heading to UT.
I really hope it's a chance for him to sort of, with a new environment
to wipe the slate clean. And look, that doesn't mean he's a bad kid.
Right.
It just means that there had just been so much that had transpired trust-wise between his teammates and his coaching staff that, like, listen, man, if we can't trust you to go to class, things like that, then you're never going to play at Alabama. And I think it was little stuff like that, nothing bad, but little stuff like that had just accumulated to the point where he was up against it at Alabama. And so I think going, to Texas is a fresh start for him. He's got a lot of talent. If you don't believe me, I mentioned him. Last year's 8A game, he made some unbelievable catches. But then in the national championship game, after Jamison Williams gets hurt, he drops a touchdown pass in the end zone against Georgia. So he's tremendously talented. I think he needs focus. I think he needs to mature a little bit. And I think with a change of scenery, that's a good opportunity for him.
Well, and they have Worthy, who's a returning freshman All-American. And then they had the kid from, Craig?
Isaiah Nayor from Wyoming.
From Wyoming. So he doesn't have to be the guy. And maybe, of course, he wasn't there at Alabama, but maybe that will help him a little bit more.
Yeah, and look, if you're looking for a transfer that's going to make a splash at Texas, look at Jaleel Billingsley. Mm-hmm. I still can't figure out why he had the season he did last year at Alabama, because he should have been right there as mentioning, being debated about as an All-American. He has that kind of talent. He's a mismatch player. He's a tight end. You could split out wide. He's got the size. He runs more like a wide receiver than a tight end. For whatever reason, he did not have a good year for Alabama. Drops really, really plagued him. But in terms of talent, another guy, maybe just a fresh slate in a new environment, because that kid, I think, has the potential in Steve Sarkisian's offense. Man, he could have a big year for a long time.
Aaron, how much more upside? Obviously, he's young. He had a fantastic year with Bryce Young, but how much better does Nick Saban think he can be?
There's always room for improvement. I think he's got to learn when, and I think quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks who've had success all their life in extending plays, they always trust themselves a little too much, and it gets them into trouble. Meaning you hold on to the ball, you leave yourself open to getting hit. You maybe throw passes that maybe you should just throw away and come back on another down and fight again. I think that's decision making. That's a small part. It's not a huge problem with him. That's an area he can get better. My question is, I don't expect his stats will be as good as last year, because Alabama's got some issues at wide receiver in terms of, they don't have what they even had last year, and last year was a step back from what they had the year before with a Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith and a first rounder in Jalen Waddle. So I think he's going to have to get some help from his wide receivers. Drops were a problem throughout spring. I don't think I think he can get better in a little bit of decision making. In that regard, knowing when to get rid of the ball, knowing when to just, we'll take the lesser of the negative plays and fight another down. I think that's where he can get better, because he was a phenomenal leader as a first-year starting quarterback, won the Heisman Trophy. There's not a ton of areas he can get better, but that was one small one.
Aaron Settles, theathletic.com, covers Alabama for us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Who do you see, outside of Georgia, obviously, as being the real, they lost to A&M last year, but we don't know, what that's really going to turn out like this year. Who's the real competition for them this year? Because there is quite a bit of flux in the SEC West.
There is. It's a great question. I think, obviously, Jimbo's there. He's got the talent. What I need Texas A&M to do is, you beat the big bad wolf last year, which was great, but you lost 4 games. So I need more consistency before I really buy into A&M as a contender. Even though the year before that, they only lost 1 game, so they're close. They're real close. I don't know enough about what Brian Kelly. I don't know how that roster is going to look after spring. Now that they're done at LSU. Lane Kiffin's always dangerous, just because if he gets a quarterback, you just never know what they will be. I get the sense the SEC is a little bit – I like the hires the SEC's had, but in terms of where they're going to be, it seems like a transition year for the league. Georgia's going to lose most of that historic defense. They're not the most explosive offensive team, and it doesn't look like they're going to be again this year, and now they don't have the defense to fall back on. I still think they're very, very good. They're not going to be as good as last year. So I think this is a year where we could see some real upsets in the SEC. I just think it's a transition year, and I don't really, as long as Alabama stays healthy, especially at key positions and the offensive line comes around, Alabama should be your champion.
Aaron, what have you thought about Nick Saban's comments? It's always interesting when he talks about some of the big topics in college football. And I guess it was just a few days ago he was talking about NIL, and everybody's like, well, you guys pay, and he made the comment, like, we didn't even have collectives, and our guys made more money than anybody last year. How has he sort of navigated the NIL deal, and what do you think his thoughts are on it as far as, improving what NIL has become?
Yeah, I just think Nick Saban, what sets him apart is everybody points to he's a great recruiter, and he is. Listen, he's not going to out X and O you. Like he's good at that, but that's not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is he's got better players than you, and he recruits better than you, and he develops better than you. But what I think has made him an all-time great is his evolution. He accepts whatever the change in college football is, and he just does it better than everybody else. And last year they weren't really allowed. The Alabama law, and this is what's driving college coaches so crazy, is every state is different. It depends on what your state law is. And so the way the Alabama state law previously was written was that the university could have no say whatsoever in terms of directing fans to give to any particular collective. And Alabama and Auburn got together with the state legislature and said, hey, we need to repeal that just to take that barrier away because it's putting us at a competitive disadvantage in terms of we can't form a collective. So now Alabama and Auburn can do that. That doesn't mean they can give players money, but they can direct if alumni or the average fan wants to make sure it's on the up and up. They can give to this what in Alabama is called the high tide tradition, and so that's their collective. So I just think Nick Saban's going to take whatever college football throws at him, whether it be rule changes or sort of fundamental shifts in how we viewed the game through the portal and now the NIL, and he's going to roll with it. And listen, if basically what Nick Saban said is this wasn't meant to be an inducement for recruitment, right? Like this was supposed to be a guy or girl's marketability that can make money off that. And what's rumored, message boards and Tennessee's reportedly supposed to broker an $8 million deal for a quarterback. So Nick Saban basically said that's not what this rule was meant to be. But if it's going to be that way and everyone's going to have that level playing field, then we're going to do it. And our guys have made a lot of money, and I'm sure that the market for them is going to be significantly higher than some places. So I think Nick Saban, and a lot of people look at it like wink, wink, nut, kind of understand the landscape of college football. I think what Nick Saban was talking about was just what is NIL, because the NCAA didn't want it. And the NCAA is not going to regulate it, and it's sort of this thing out there that that the coaches really don't like, but no one really has a grasp on, and I don't sense that we're going to, because every state is different, and the NCAA is not going to monitor this because the NCAA didn't want it.
Aaron, it's interesting you said that of the way he said that, like, look, it's out there, we're going to do it. I've kind of always said that about Nick Saban. People, Nick Saban's come out against this or he's mad about this. I never got the feeling he's mad about anything. He's just saying, like, look, if this is the lay of the land, change the rules or this is what we're going to do at Alabama.
That's exactly right. I mean, go back to, I think it was 2013 or 14, Johnny Manziel's running up and down on Alabama and they can't stop him. And Hugh Freeze is at Ole Miss, and Alabama can't stop him because you couldn't substitute. I mean, the big thing with the hurry up, no huddle is you couldn't get your defensive players on and off the field because that's the way those offenses were playing. So Nick Saban, basically what he said is this what we want the game to be? And it wasn't old man get off my lawn. He said if this is the way the game is going to be played now, I'm going to play that way. And what has happened since then? Alabama produced the first Heisman winning trophy wide receiver since 1991. A wide receiver. They've put Jalen Hurts in the NFL, Mac Jones in the NFL, Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. So Alabama's offense since that, I mean, think about what Alabama's offense was before he made those comments, and then when he embraced that offense and what Alabama's offense is now. It's two totally different programs.
Aaron, you mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs, but in terms of new faces, whether that be like Gibbs through the transfer portal or incoming guys through the recruiting ranks, who are maybe some of the names to know? Obviously, there's superstars galore every year at Alabama that we get to know, and then they move on. So who's kind of that next wave that Alabama fans and media are looking at?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. Most people probably aren't familiar with him because he's at Georgia Tech, toiling away in obscurity just because they have not been all that relevant in the ACC. But he's phenomenal. He had a 75-yard touchdown run on that first-team Alabama defense, and that defense is going to be pretty good this year. I think he brings an element Alabama did not have in this running back, in this running back group. And what we didn't see, because Alabama wasn't going to show anything in the spring game, is how Bill O'Brien's going to use him in the passing game. So I think he's going to be phenomenal. And as I mentioned him earlier, everyone knows who Will Anderson is. They're going to know who Dallas Turner is by the end of the season. Dallas Turner is another outside linebacker. He had 8.5 sacks last year, but no one really paid any attention to him because Will Anderson was scorching the earth with his performance. But I think Dallas Turner as a sophomore and now Will Anderson, it's going to be a long day playing against those guys. You're trying to pass protect and you're trying to throw the ball.
I had Will Anderson in my top 3, by the way, in the Heisman vote. No question about it. He was just phenomenal. No question about it. Aaron, thank you very much, man. Look forward to it. Hope to have you on a few times during the season, before the season as well. Have a great spring. You. Yep.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Aaron Suttles, he in his article wrapping up spring, Tyler Harrell is a wide receiver at Louisville who's in the portal, visited Alabama this past weekend, 18 catches but averaged 29 yards per pop. If they're looking for somebody, obviously they're going to replace Jamison Williams, is that right? And all the others that they had, Michi, and man, it's just so
it's kind of crazy to hear that they're a little worried about their depth at wide receiver in the immediate future, in that's become wide receiver lately at Alabama. But, sometimes, you can't buy experience. Guys have to have it. And then when you have so many good ones, eventually they're all going to go, and you're going to hit a year where you've got a little bit of transition, and that's where they're at. But I won't be surprised to see one of those guys.
I was going to say, we're going to know some dude by memory by the end of the year. Yeah. It's the next Calvin Ridley or Jamison Williams and so on, Jalen Waddle. Go on and on and on and on. That's going to be fun for Jahmyr Gibbs after ending his career losing 90-0 in the final 2 games to, unleash some, some actual success against somebody, or just have some fun winning, because my gosh, at the end of his career, granted they played I think it was Notre Dame and Georgia in their final 2 games, and they got beat combined 70. It was 100-0. Excuse me. Yeah, 100-0 in Jahmyr Gibbs' last 2 games at Georgia Tech. So yeah, he's going to have a little bit of a different post game.
When Jahmyr Gibbs came in and said, "Why I'm transferring?" He goes, "Why?"
Yeah, I know. By the way, on the 6:30 announcement, Ashley Hodge weighed in. We mentioned there's a possibility about Miro Little. There were thoughts. People were asking about, is he going to be eligible? No, he's not eligible. He's going to announce at some point where he's going to go to prep school in the United States. He doesn't think, or at least his thoughts, is not a non-roster story. It could be, who knows? It could be about the arena. It could be about something else. I don't know.
Okay. That was based off Miro Little's news on next year coming soon, so that would make sense that he's transferring somewhere in the U.S. or something like that. And I didn't really know in my head how that would have worked for him to be able to enroll early, so I wasn't, reporting that by any means, but that would make sense.
When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Brad Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 coaches who need a good year. This is not, I wouldn't call this hot seat. I would say this is to stay off the hot seat, although one of these coaches is definitely on the hot seat, but need a good year. Number 5, Scott Satterfield at Louisville. Really needs a good year. Lost to a couple teams that didn't go to bowls last year. They're not showing any real growth there. He's flirted with other teams before Louisville's gotten good. He needs a good year at Louisville. Plus, Louisville has a new athletic director.
There you go.
Yeah. And that is the biggest key to I need a good year is there's a new boss. Number 4, Jeff Scott at USF. Look, with UCF moving to the Big 12 and everything else that's going on around them, if USF wants to get on the scene, they're trying to get a stadium built on campus. They've got a really aggressive and popular athletic director who, he's one of the dark horse candidates for the Big 12 commissioner. If Jeff Scott wants to keep that job, he better start winning in Tampa.
I sent the media relations department an interview request. Haven't heard back from them on that. Of course, the USF is a team that's at least been thought of as whatever may happen down the road, if anything ever does again, with whether the Big 12 or another conference. But, they were number 2 in the country about, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, they were, and they've been pretty irrelevant ever since then. The whole Charlie Strong thing didn't quite work out like they were hoping it to. Now Jeff Scott, they've just, UCF's passed them up as far as, what comes to mind in terms of the non-Big 3 Florida schools, and they're just kind of there, to be perfectly honest with you. At least, from my standpoint, I don't quite look at USF football the way I did 10, 15 years ago maybe, and there's a guy that you immediately comes to mind as far as a big player they have or something like that. They just kind of been there. Yep. I don't know how else to explain it. They're just kind of there. It's nothing against them or anything like that. It's just there's not a lot of juice with the program right now as compared to, when they were kind of freewheeling and dealing and at top of mind. But, there's obviously potential there. They've flashed that before. But, yeah, it's been kind of a downswing for them here as of late.
Was it Leavitt? who was the one that had the success?
Yeah, Jim Levitt.
Yeah.
Jim Levitt had a lot of
time,
success,
too.
and
then eventually got run out.
He and Mangino kind of hit that same stride at the same time of getting rowdy with the players. Number 3, Neil Brown at West Virginia. Look, just JT Daniels transferred in. Graham Harrell is an excellent hire as the offensive coordinator, but Neil Brown needs a good year. I mean, if just judging by the West Virginia fans that interact with us, he is not insanely popular there right now. Dude needs a good year.
No, because they've been fine. Like they're just, again, another team that's there. I like West Virginia. I think a good West Virginia is good for the Big 12, and I like Neil Brown too. And I've been surprised they've had as many struggles as they've had. Now, some of those self-inflicted, some of them not. But that quarterback position. I don't want to harp on Jarrett Doege, and I say this like once a week. Once a week we bring up West Virginia, and I talk about I don't want to harp on him, but I think the change at quarterback should make a massive difference for them. And if it doesn't, then he's probably out of there because that's what he's got to hold his hopes on, is that they show some level of like measurable progress this year. If they just barely make it to a bowl game again, that I don't know that will be satisfactory enough. Now, you don't have to go contend for the Big 12 either, but I do think that the kind of upside downside for him is you brought in JT Daniels. That's great. You should be better, but guess what comes with that? Expectations that you're going to be better. So you better be better, right? He's had a bunch of transfers leave, but they got some of that juice back with Daniels. So, hopefully that carries over for them.
Yeah, I think the top 5 former USC QBs around the country might be a list for tomorrow or coming up. Number 2, Dino Babers at Syracuse. Kind of in the same boat as Neil Brown. He's had some wins that Syracuse hasn't had in a long time, but eventually he's got to take a step forward there. And that's tough
started
because
pretty well, right?
Yeah. But he beat Clemson once. But they've got to take a step forward if he's going to keep that job because they're spinning their wheels right now. And look, it's a basketball school. It's always going to be a basketball school. When Boeheim leaves, it'll still be a basketball school. But Dino Babers needs to take a jump forward.
I agree.
Some people would have hired him as Baylor head coach just a few years ago.
Yeah.
If you would have listened to message board folks, and taken their advice on who to hire. But not that I've had perfect, recommendations either. But, Dino's done fine, but again, another program that's just kind of there right now. What do you think of when you think of Syracuse football? Probably something from 20 years ago.
Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, he's been retired for 10 years from a pro career, so that's not great. Marvin Harrison, again, been retired for years and years now. So Dino's, Browse Tree, super exciting offense and all that. Worked his way up, but they're just kind of bleh right now.
Yeah, and number 1. Just for the sanity of my friend to the right here, Scott Frost needs a good year.
I think you did this last year, and the number 1 last year was also Scott Frost.
Yes, it shows you not much has changed in a year, except his entire coaching staff.
It doesn't even affect me anymore.
That's not true. That's denial. That's denial. That's like saying, that's the Oklahoma fans saying, like, Lincoln Riley's not a good coach. We don't need him. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's numbness. There's numbness. All right, thank you, Paul. Good stuff. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, we'll have Grayson Grundhafer on the weekend, who's going to come watch the spring game, Baylor Saturday. Also, Blake Blackmar is going to bring us some food because the Baylor Meat Mafia is having a big tailgate showdown this Saturday, along with some other guests, including Jeff Howe and the University of Texas Spring. Armstrong Sims, Emery Winter, Jack Spinnett football practice media session, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Thanks all of you. Yeah, even including Andrew on the chat room and the text line and our phenomenal sponsors. David Smoak, back tomorrow at 3. Thank you. Have a great day. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career paths at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.